Meeting, please come to order. Barbara, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Levine, Noonan, and Vasquez present.
This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. I have no opening remarks. I understand we have 8 public comment cards. We always warmly welcome our public commenters, and they always have something interesting to say. We have one, not to single someone out, but we have one particularly distinguished public commenter today. So I would appreciate it, Barbara, if you would call Councilman Labange.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Barbara, and Commissioner President Levine, and members of the Commission. Great to see you here. There's nothing like water and power. Without water and power, the city isn't the great city that it is, but it has to continue to be. And if you look at our city's history, it was water and power, the Port of Los Angeles, and world airports that helped drive the economic engine, not just for our city, but for the whole region. But now, on my time, after 39 years down the street, and I think a year and a half here, I took a pay cut when I went down there, Marty, but I did it for you. But I hike every day and have been for many, many years in Griffith Park. And there's a great project you're doing in reclaim water, which is so important. But it comes off the mountain and it goes to Commonwealth Yard, and it will connect to the Roosevelt Golf Course. But as you know, this department was a hero to stop the 2007 fire of over 1,200 acres when it came into Los Feliz, because in the early part of the new century, you changed all the water. And again, Marty Adams, give him a big hand for his work on that. You handle that, Mr. Adams. The new water system provided power.
Did Marty send you here?
God bless the congressman. Okay, now, what we have here is an opportunity to bring more life to the park. Water is life, and this particular line stops at Commonwealth. If it gets to Vermont, it will not only be able to do the panels down Vermont, which are the parkways there, and also will be able to do the industrial work for the Greek Theater, which is our popular open-air amphitheater. And then if we get it continued, it will get to the bird sanctuary. And when water gets to the bird sanctuary, the birds will come back, and so will the growth. So I just wanted to put my hand up to do anything I can, Mr. Commissioner, to help. Even if we, let's say, partnership with, let's say, Los Angeles Trade Technical College, and get a couple lead people and get students here, because there's nothing like learning the work of the water system or the power system. And I just wanted to give that to you. I could put this all in writing if you'd like it later, so you could give it to our fine general manager, so he could give it to Marty, so he could do what he should do a long time ago.
Tom, thank you very, very much. It's always, it brightens the day to have you here, and you should come more often.
Well, thank you very much, but my wife wants me to get a job, so if you see me... Can I just say one last thing? All these guys will stand up for all the years in the Science Bowl and the good job that he does.
Okay, our next speaker is Michael Kadish, and after that, Graciela Geyer.
Hello. Tough act to follow, obviously. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Michael Kadish. I'm the executive director of Grid Alternatives Greater Los Angeles. We're the LA affiliate of the largest national solar nonprofit, and we're also a member of the Los Angeles Clean Energy Coalition, some other members you'll be hearing from shortly. I'm here to talk to you today briefly about virtual net metering, which is something that sadly we lack here in the city of LA. This is the primary way in the state of California that the benefits of solar, both environmental and economic, make its way to tenants, particularly to low-income tenants. As you know, over half of Los Angeles is renters, and the utility, I think, is very much looking to how to serve those renters, how to help them with solar. And just here to say, virtual net metering, this is the way already that in every IOU in the state they do it. It's the way, and it doesn't require a massive capital investment. It requires a technical fix. And I know that there's issues that are being working on, but we're just calling to say this is an equity issue. This is how lower income people in affordable housing can get their bills reduced and get the benefits of solar. And once more, it's also how hundreds of millions of dollars of state cap and trade funding can be accessed. So we're not asking for LADWP ratepayer funds for this. What we're asking for is to prioritize this, figure out like how you're going to do it, start now on the planning, and initiate a pilot project. A pilot project could be done with a select number of affordable housing developments in the city, in select districts. It wouldn't require the entire billing system to be fixed first. It could be run off of a spreadsheet, frankly. So I would just urge a study and a pilot project, and let's make sure that all the investment, all the work that LADWP is doing so well, that it can be accessible to everybody, particularly with those who need it most. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, the next speaker is Graciela Geyer, and after that, Andres Ramirez.
Good morning. My name is Graciela Geyer. I'm here speaking on behalf of Sierra Club and also the LA Clean Energy Coalition. And we wanted to come because we're also in support, obviously, of the great work that the Department of Water and Power has done around community solar, and really that has been a difficult problem. And so we don't see this as, we see this basically as an opportunity to allow the private sector and affordable housing developers to also participate and be able to get the benefits more quickly, maybe, than the pilot program that the department has been working on for community solar. And just to highlight again what Michael mentioned is that we have programs in clean energy for net metering that serve homeowners, for businesses, but we're missing this piece for low-income families. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Andres Ramirez, and after that, Larry Dozer.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. My name is Andres Ramirez. I'm a Clean Energy Director with Pacoma Beautiful. We are also a part of the Los Angeles Clean Energy Coalition, who includes Grid Alternatives, Communities for Better Environment, Sierra Club, Global Green, Los Angeles Business Council, and Earth Justice. I'm also here to implore the board to look into creating virtual net metering for ratepayers in the city of Los Angeles. For us, this is a bigger question about taking concrete steps towards our commitment to 100% renewables. You know, making it accessible to renters is a key step to that, especially considering the environment from the federal government, the attacks on our environment and our communities. It's important for our cities to take leadership and take concrete steps that the city can see that you have our backs, you have our health and our interests at heart. Especially considering how air quality has continued to deteriorate in the city, especially out in the valley. We feel taking the step towards virtual net metering is an important first step. So we urge you to take these 2 steps. We're welcome to meet with you to try to make this happen, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Larry Dozier, and after that, Kent Manault.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me this time. I'm Larry Dozier. I'm the pastor of St. John's United Methodist Church in Watts, and I want to talk a bit about this virtual net metering also. Our vision for the community in Watts is to have a clean air project at St. John's so it can be a spark plug of renewable solar energy for the entire surrounding community. We cannot realize this without virtual net metering, which would allow renters and low-income residents to participate in the local clean energy economy. Our work at St. John's in Watts and with the Clean Air and Energy Committee focuses on the church's mission of abundant life. And abundant life means having access to clean air, clean water, and land. It means having access to good jobs and decent, affordable housing, and an abundant life is about building a healthy community. You see, St. John's is centrally located near the historic Watts Towers and the Blue Line Watts Willowbrook Station. You would think that with a name like Watts, the community would already have access to a clean environment, but there is much work to be done. In January of 2017, we were the host of the Watts Clean Air Forum, and on that eventful night, it became apparent that two elected officials that the entire area was in dire need of more lighting and much more. So we started a discussion dealing with solar powered lighting, solar panels, and clean energy storage. In Watts, also, the life expectancy of citizens there is 10 years less than individuals in more affluent areas. And, you know, this is not abundant life. While we understand Watts is currently the recipient of the TCC grants, Watts also has a long history of being neglected and somewhat swindled. A lot of promises made. And I just want to say also that when you think of St. John's United Methodist Church, think pilot also. We are volunteering ourselves to be a pilot for any of these cutting-edge solar issues, and so that the community can see, touch, feel what is going on there. So in addition to spiritual life, we need to deal with this mortal man also. So I ask your leadership in helping us to achieve these goals for our church, for our community, and for the community at large. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Kent Minault, and after that, Shirley Gamble. Pardon?
Mr. Madult is delayed.
Oh, okay. Then Shirley Gamble, and after that, Lizette Hernandez.
Good morning. My name is Shirley Gamble, and I'm with the Watts Clean Air and Energy Group. Thank you for giving me time to speak. I'm going to have to read mine because I prepared. So I'm new at this. Being a member of the Watts Clean Air and Energy Committee, and I'm a resident of Compton, the mission of our committee is to create an empowered community who will work together to achieve environmental justice. And by doing that, we hope to improve the quality of air we're breathing and create a clear roadmap of opportunities offered by the clean air energy industry, accessible to Watts and the surrounding communities. I'm also a retired school teacher, and what strikes me most is the inequity of the issue. How is it that communities such as Sherman Oaks and West LA already have access to the best clean energy technology available, or the residents have a clear pathway to participating in the new economy? The median income for Watts is $25,161, low for the city of Los Angeles and low for the county of LA. DWP and other city agencies need to pay attention to our communities, or the gap will only get wider, shutting us out completely from fully benefiting from our right to renewable energy. I support, and I'm hoping that you, along with me, support the idea of a project in Watts, where again, as the minister says, other people, other residents can see the work that DWP. It's great to hear about it, but when you see it, it does make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Lizette Hernandez, and then after that, Kent Minault, if he is here.
Good morning, board members. My name is Lizette Hernandez, and I work with the Sierra Club. I'm also an organizer and the convener of the Watts Clean Air and Energy Committee, and a resident of South LA. So one of the things that we know is that regarding the inequities, in San Fernando Valley, we've already spent over $64 million of solar incentives in that region, and in West LA, over $24 million, which amounts to $50 per capita and $53 per capita in those two regions. In South LA, it's $2.2 million that we've spent to date, and that amounts to only $3 or so per capita. And so we're pointing to this inequity, and this data was provided by Lane and the Repower Coalition, which we are also a part of. And we point to this to sort of highlight the growing inequity, the gap that already exists, though the clean energy industry is somewhat of a new industry. And we're concerned that we are already being left vastly behind. So we ask that your policies regarding virtual net metering, for example, have a heightened focus so that we can go ahead and look into these inequities and ensure that renters, for example, in Watts, which make up about 2/3 of the residential population there, have access to this great new emerging technology. So I'll leave it at that. We trust in your leadership. We will continue to work on our projects, our demo projects, but we do want you at the table, and we do need your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Kent Minalt.
Hey, good morning, commissioners.
I like the hat.
Oh, thanks. I'll leave it on there. I need somewhere place to put it. Current solar programs exclude renters and low-income families from the economic benefits of clean energy. We want that to stop. Low-income families pay the highest share of their income on power, where a small savings can mean a lot of difference to them. Nearly half of residential customers in LA live in multifamily homes. Virtual net metering provides a mechanism and incentives for the private sector and housing developers to reduce our energy load and install distributed battery storage as a direct benefit to renters and to strengthening the grid. Now, how come investor-owned utilities all have virtual net metering, but LA City doesn't? Let's study their best practices, the best practices of other utilities, and address this inequity quickly before our energy equity falls further behind, before the energy gap gets any bigger. We want action, and the billing system was being replaced, but how much longer can we wait? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kent.
Okay, that was our last card for item 2.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
if you
Vasquez.
don't mind. I want to thank all of the folks that came here today to talk about virtual net metering. This is an issue that is very close to my heart. As a renter myself, I understand of the benefits of virtual net metering. And I want to just say a few things. We know that low-income customers, our low-income customers, are located in areas where there's the least solar penetration. So DWP is really committed to look at that and figure out ways in which we can also bring more solar to those areas. We also know that renters and multifamily units are located in low income, so they're very correlated. And I want to say that we understand that the city is moving to a place where multifamily and multi-unit housing is mostly developed. So we know also that renters deserve the benefits of renewable energy, solar, energy efficiency, and energy storage. So DWP is definitely committed to work on a pilot program, and I believe Mr. Louis Ting is already, his team is leading the efforts to look at how we can figure out a way to have a pilot program that can alleviate this in those low-income housing and affordable housing units. So I just wanted to mention, and I want to thank you for coming here and bringing your concerns and your ideas. We want to work with all of you, and I hope that this is just the beginning of a partnership that we can have with you where we can exchange ideas and make Los Angeles better. Thank you.
General Manager.
Thank you. I have a few comments. I've been traveling the last few weeks on work. It's someone described it. It's the travel season to try and get our message across in various locations. So I was in D.C. a couple weeks ago, and with the American Public Power Association, we had a number of meetings presenting the things that are important across the nation to public power utilities, which are things kind of a little more general, like in the last tax update, or the Tax Act, advance refunding of bonds was left out, so we're looking at that. Vegetation and management, which isn't very important to LA, was discussed. But kind of most importantly, with each of the meetings, I started discussing electrification of the transportation sector with representatives throughout LA and it was interesting, got an absolute 100% positive response. Republican and Democrat were all supportive, and it really important to me, as I've discussed it as part of my vision in reducing emissions locally and the improvement of air quality that we'll get from that. So they were very productive meetings, and again, had a number of those. I was also nominated to be on the board of American Public Power Association, and I was told that it would be very likely that LA will get a seat on the board, and so be attending there. Then from there went to the Western Energy Institute group, and we talked up in the Bay Area, and that was really important because I was on the same group as Southern California Edison, and Ron and I were able to kind of convey some of what we're looking at jointly as we're looking towards electrification of the transportation sector. We jointly talked about vegetation management, and I should say that's getting permits to get on federal lands to clear the brush around our transmission lines so they don't spark fires. And we're having challenges getting some of those permits, not just LA, Edison, throughout California, and in fact throughout the United States. So we're talking about how we can get some strategic approaches with the investor-owned utilities and the publicly owned utilities, so we go with a united front, because this is an issue that affects everybody, and we're very concerned about fires in California. And then talked a little bit about a pilot project for a clean transportation corridor. We're not quite there in the details, but how, excuse me, we could work across the entire western United States to start with a single corridor where all of the utilities are focusing on that, to again create somewhere where we're all ensuring that that corridor became a highly supportive of clean and electric vehicles. Then finally, spent yesterday meeting with the board of the Intermountain Power Agency as we move from the Intermountain Power Project right now to eventually what I can call kind of shorthand the Intermountain Power Portfolio. Have been directing them to significantly reduce the amount of repowering and increase the amount of renewables that we could obtain from that location. And as I was driving to Vegas, got off at Baker, where many of us always have, and as I pull off, there is Tesla's new 40 vehicle charging station, which to me was phenomenal in showing the transition of the fuel source for vehicles and the future of California in literally having 40 stations in the middle of nowhere, but that's where you need to have the power. And it was next to gas stations, and my dream is to see every gas station go away and be replaced with electric vehicle charging stations because of the environmental benefits. So very fruitful. I just look forward to sleeping in my own bed for a few days. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Donna, who'd like to introduce a new staff member.
Thank you, Dave. It is my pleasure to make an introduction to a new member of our leadership team, Miss Erin Henning. Erin, would you stand up? Erin has been selected to succeed Gwen Williams, our supply chain director. Gwen is retiring in the fall, so it's part of our succession plan. Erin is working alongside Gwen to have a successful transition into that position. Erin comes to us from the city of LA, where she has over 30 years of experience. She actually started back in high school as a recreation assistant at Rec and Parks, and she's worked various departments in the city, including the personnel department, and her most recent position was chief procurement officer at LAWA at LAX. So she has a lot of experience, and we're really looking forward to working with Erin, although we will miss Gwen. She's ready to make changes in her life and hopefully relax a little bit. But so I would like to welcome Erin to our
Well, we
team.
warmly welcome Erin. You've got exceptionally big shoes to fill, so that you've got a very high bar to aspire to, and welcome. That's it. Thank you both. Welcome home, Dave.
Thank you.
Comments from commissioners? Commissioner Noonan.
Thank you. I have 3 comments, but I'll make them brief. The first, and I think the most exciting, is an event that Commissioner Vasquez and I attended a few days ago. And the department has created its own chapter of the Society of Women Engineers. And it really, really was an inspiring event. We had more than 200 attendees. And I applaud all of the women who really, really serve as inspirations to women throughout our state, throughout the country. Currently, our engineers are comprised of 18% females, but it was very nice to see the male leaders be at this event as well, really, really focusing on our equity goals and reaching out to children as young as in high school, just to give them the idea that, you know, women can thrive in an engineering workforce. So I applaud the general manager as well as the staff for making that first annual event happen, and we look forward to participating in future years. Secondly, I also want to thank you for, I know for years I've criticized is too hard of a word, but I've been frustrated in that sometimes there's items on the agenda that demand a yes vote, or else it puts us in a dire situation. This specifically relates to insurance renewals. And I feel that the staff has done an outstanding job in working with us individually, me specifically. Prior to this board meeting, I have had several conference calls with our insurance experts, along with our liaison at Aon. And I really appreciate the updates, the questions being answered beforehand, because it makes us better prepared to make a vote on the issue. So I thank you for listening to my requests and fulfilling those. I know it takes a great deal of time to organize those conference calls and set aside that time, but I appreciate it. And lastly, on the drive here, I was listening to NPR. I think it's a very exciting time for our city, and that Mayor Garcetti has appointed Christopher Hawthorne to be the Chief Designing Officer for Los Angeles. And so once he does get settled in the position, I think that this is a fabulous time for us to partner with Mr. Hawthorne and see how we can address, not like our public speaker stated, recreational areas in all socioeconomic parts of Los Angeles, and to meet our renewable goals by investing smartly in those recreational spaces. So I would like, perhaps once he is settled, for us to invite him to meet with us so that we can be very intelligent about collaborating and supporting his vision for Los Angeles alongside Mayor Garcetti. Thank you.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Thank you. Thank you for commenting about the meeting on International Women's Day. That was very exciting. I felt so much energy here, and just to see the solidarity among all the women was very, very exciting. I think that I want to also mention that DWP is really committed on trying to bring more diversity in gender and in ethnicity. So I think it's very exciting to see all the women working together and trying to recruit other engineers and female engineers. So that's really exciting. It's very promising for to see. When it's so sad to see you go, but I'm happy that you're gonna be, I don't know, planting a garden, a dancing class. I don't know what you were gonna be doing, but whatever you end up doing, I'm excited for you. You will be missed. Thank you so much for all the years of service here and for bringing your incredible experience and intelligence. Thank you so much for being part of the DWP family for so long. Thank you. I also want to welcome our new and optimized Gwen to the team. Thank you for joining us. And I want to also mention the 100% Renewable Energy Advisory Group. I came to check, again, Louis Sting, Pars and Mr. Montang, and how exciting of a group. There is so much energy, and I have to say that in the years that I have been working with DWP, it's so encouraging to see how DWP is really bringing everyone together to work towards a common goal. I mean, that's something that we should all be really proud of, to see that the amount of collaboration and interaction is really, 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 really exciting. So I wanted to thank the power system folks to You're doing an amazing work. I know that it's a little bit unusual, and that really also shows the leadership and innovation that DWP is really trying to move towards with the initiatives and the programs that we have here. So I want to thank you for doing that. And I want to thank all of the members that are here of the committee for coming and continue participating. I know that you're taking time of your work schedules to really be here. And lastly, our president is visiting Los Angeles today. And I want to commend the students that walked out today, just an hour ago, in really representing the sentiment of Los Angeles and how we feel about our current administration. So keep it up, students. And if you're watching, you know, I commend you for doing that. And for all of the people that are out there really letting these men know that this is in our city and not under our watch is not okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope I didn't violate any rules here. Council, please let me know.
No, you don't. You don't really hope so. Ratepayer advocate.
As questions arise on individual topics, I will speak up.
We will look forward to it. Okay. We're going to defer items 6A and 6B in the hopes that Commissioner Funderburk will be here in time to hear them after dealing with other items on the agenda. And with that, we'll move to 6C, preliminary budget.
Thank you, Commissioners. We're here today to present the preliminary fiscal year 2018-19 budget. And as we move to slide 2, we'll note that the budgets, we're going to talk about the budget status and development, equity metrics and initiatives and outreach, power and water accomplishments and strategic investments, staffing, and our next steps in the budget process. So as we develop the budget on slide 3, the goal of the fiscal year 19 budget is to create a budget that is consistent with LADWP's strategic plan and approved rates so that we can address customer-driven priorities, support infrastructure investments, comply with regulatory mandates, and do all of this while maintaining cost control. The department's goals for this budget align with the mayor's 2019 budget policy to prioritize resources, promote fiscal stewardship, innovation, and accountability. The first part of our presentation is on incentives and outreach. And on slide 5, one of the areas with continued emphasis in fiscal year 19 is corporate performance. Next fiscal year, we have $3.5 million in the preliminary budget, and this is to increase the staff size to 8, to provide funding for joint benchmarking with the Office of Public Accountability, to audit data gathering methodology, and to fund studies supporting the Equity Metrics Data Initiative. On slide 6, another area of continued emphasis is community solar. Power system, IT, and customer billing section have been working to expand solar equity by creating billing options for customers. A few single-family rooftops have been installed, but they are hard to find. And so for fiscal year 19, we have $4.9 million in the preliminary budget, and staff believes that this will keep this important program moving forward. The next slide on 7, the next area of emphasis is electric vehicles. For fiscal year 19, we have $14.1 million of planned expenditures, and these will increase the vehicle charging to just over 2,200 charging stations, with a goal of 10,000 charging stations by fiscal year 22. Increase public education, information, and outreach events. Support the heavy-duty EV market, such as buses and port transit equipment. Renew our Charge Up LA Charger rebate program with enhancements. And launch the Smart Residential Charging program. On slide 8, as part of our EV outreach effort, the program team has come up with several action items to engage communities and promote electric vehicle incentives. And this includes developing a communication plan to reach homeowners associations and neighborhood councils, as well as mapping of program participation to identify geographic distribution. There's 9 total ones. There's 7 additional ones as part of our outreach efforts. Moving to slide 9, continuing outreach efforts and tools, the Energy Efficiency and Water Conservation Program managers have developed a process to keep the conservation message in front of our customers. And these steps include research and data collection, program participation mapping, and multiple communication channels, including mailings, social media, community events, and working with nonprofit organizations to disseminate information and engage our customers. As part of the 2019 preliminary budget, there's $206 million for water and power conservation efforts. On slide 10, LADWP's targeted recruitment initiatives. We have proposed preliminary budget of just over $1 million to fund these initiatives, which include increasing our female and minority candidates for engineering associate. This is via outreach to the various societies. And we also want to increase 8 critical craft job classifications by working with LAUSD and social media. On slide 11 is our customer benefits program. Our preliminary budget has $248 million of the dollars for these programs, which is $10 million higher than what we currently estimate to spend for fiscal year 18. The next section of our budget presentation is on the power system, and I'll have Andy walk us through some of the recent accomplishments and renewables and reliability.
Thank you, Ann. So as we go through our recent accomplishments, we've installed to date over 302 megawatts of both utility and feed-in tariff solar in our system. I know Reiko and I went out and looked, and we've completed our Charge Up Crenshaw charging annex there. 22 chargers in our parking lot at our service center there. It's a beautiful site. We were really impressed when we went out there. We've completed 3 more phases of Beacon 1, 2, and 5. Solar came online, so we have a total of 570 megawatts out in our in that Beacon Barren Ridge area, which is continuing to upgrade our renewables that we're able to bring into the system. This year we will complete the Beacon Battery Image Storage. That's 20 megawatts out at our Beacon facility of battery storage, which will help us better utilize the renewable energy we have provided from that area. So we're continuing to make these investments and complete these projects.
On the next slide.
Next slide. Also, we're on track to meet our energy savings goal of 15% by 2020 with lighting retrofits and other energy solutions. In the 16-17 year, we reduced usage by 480 gigawatts for that year. We're continuing to replace our infrastructure. Since 15-16 in this program, we've replaced over 2,200 transformers, over 6,000 poles. And again, we continue to replace that poles, cross arms. We're replacing cables in order to keep upgrading the system. Next slide. So now we look at our strategic investments going forward. We've increased our proposed budget this year for pole replacement from 79 to 91 million. We've increased our 138 underground transmission cable budget for next year, proposed up to 43 million from 28. We're continuing to work on the Sylmar converter station replacement and our substation automation. Each of these will allow our system to be more reliable and more nimble and better to react quicker. Also, what's not in this budget, what will be coming with the next budget, will be part of our strategic investments is a study on using Hoover Dam, I'm sorry. That's a facility we're going to build, Hoover Street. But Hoover Dam as pump storage, a pump storage project. So we will be spending over the next 5 years about $25 million there. And then also, which will be coming back, is about $210 million over 3 years for distribution automation, which will allow us to put smart devices on our circuit to help reduce outages, both the duration, fault indicators, voltage control, and it'll allow us to just be able to respond to our customer outages at a much quicker rate and reduce the frequency and duration of those outages.
So the next slide is slide 17 that has the Power System Key Expenditure Program. And here we have $1.5 billion in estimated fuel and purchase power expenses, $1.1 billion in operation and maintenance costs, debt service of $589 million, planned capital expenditures of $1.4 billion. All these expenditures are going to be supported by a revenue requirement of just over $3.9 billion and borrowing of $688 million. On slide 18 is a summary of our financial categories that relate to the power system, and these are good to know as we go through the rates and what goes through which pass-throughs and which ones are base rate funded. Slide 19 shows a summary of our financial categories, or shows our capital expenditure trends going back to fiscal year 2017. And as you can see, the power reliability has 34% of the proposed budget at $489 million. On slide 20, we have our O&M expenditure trend going back to fiscal year 17. And here, power reliability again has the most money with 36% of the proposed budget. And slide 21 is our fuel and purchase power trend, with 41% of the preliminary budget going to renewables. And that's $627 million. The next section of our presentation is on the water revenue fund, and I'll turn it over to Rich to talk about some of water systems, recent accomplishments, and continuing strategic investments.
So on slide 23, we're first going to start looking at what we've got going for water quality and infrastructure. We've got a total capital budget of over $320 million in water quality alone, and another nearly $340 million in infrastructure. The upper right picture in that is really our poster child of infrastructure, and that's our mainline replacement program, and we're well on our way to meeting our year after year goals. But we have a number of projects that will be getting us to a point really where most of my generation spent a career in, and that is removing our open water body reservoirs and either replacing them or covering them. And we've got our Headworks Reservoir that took care of Silver Lake and Ivanhoe, and we just have completed our Elysian Reservoir project there as well. And some of the work we've done has been really fantastic and has been recognized in award-winning ways, and that's that lower left one on the city trunk line, and we brought that award to you a number of months ago for that project's unique way of tunneling under the streets there. On the next page, water supply and sustainability really have been the huge focus of our capital and O&M expenditures. In response to our banner year of runoff, we repurposed the McClay High Line to use it in a way to be able to bring future surplus years, which I hope we have some out there, but bring that water, raw water from the aqueduct and spread it down into the San Fernando Valley. Now, San Fernando Valley is hugely important to us in our sustainability as we look forward in developing local supply, because it's a place where we will put our recycled or increased recycled water as well as our increases in stormwater capture. So we actually had a board meeting that broke out at a groundbreaking ceremony with 3 of our commissioners there last month to groundbreak our North Hollywood West groundwater remediation project. So it was significant. It was probably the most well attended in terms of the people and the dignitaries and decision makers on this issue that I've ever seen. So it was well recognized as an important project there. And of course, we'll continue in pursuing our goals with water recycling and water conservation. The final slide, I just want to then highlight the particular portion within the San Fernando Valley is it's our prime place to capture stormwater. And just wanted to highlight that we will in our 18-19 budget have a combined capital O&M expenditures of over $28 million. And the Tujunga Spreading Grounds is well underway to be improved. So it's really one of our main spreading grounds where we are able to capture stormwater, and what we're doing is a project in coordination with Los Angeles County to basically deepen and widen those reservoirs so they can take more water faster. So it's important. And we also wanted to highlight our, as of right now, proposed program, although it's item number 29 on the agenda, the industrial groundwater, industrial general permit stormwater incentive program as well, that has a small but significant influence on stormwater capture. And that project, along with the two other highlighted ones there at Silver Lake and our projects with LA Rec and Parks, really are the focus of our distributed capture of stormwater, whereas the Tujunga is a centralized system. Thank you.
So on slide 26 is a summary of the water system key expenditures. Operating expenses of $851 million, debt service of $337 million, capital investments of $928 million. These expenditures are supported by a revenue requirement of $1.2 billion and planned borrowing of $601 million, with 90% of that coming from the sale of bonds and the remaining $63 million from state loans. On slide 27 is a summary of the financial categories we have for water system, and this again helps with mapping how funds spend as pass-through rates. On slide 28 is the water system capital expenditure trend, with infrastructure and water quality both being about 36% of the $928 million planned for 2019. On slide 29 is our O&M expenditure trend, and you can see that the bulk of that is off in the operating support area. And then on slide 30, we do have a preliminary budget of $136 million in purchase water costs. This amount may change based on the snowpack levels prior to us presenting the final budget.
Will change.
Will change for the positive. The next area is staffing. Slide 32 shows the preliminary budget has funding for 10,884 positions, which is 943 higher than the staffing levels we had as of the end of January. The increase is needed for implementing succession planning, water and power programs, enhanced customer service and billings, enterprise cybersecurity and the CCB upgrade, and supporting various projects across water and power. As noted on slide 32, 23% of the department's workforce could retire in fiscal year 2019. Although they're eligible, they may not, but for this fiscal year through January, we have seen 197 people retire. And then on slide 33 is a comparison of our preliminary budget labor funding to our 2016 rate action proposed labor funding. Our preliminary budget assumes a higher labor funding than the rate case, but offsets have been made in outside services and other areas to maintain our spending within our targeted revenue requirement. So this is our proposed preliminary budget. We are asking approval to transmit this to the council and the mayor. We will be working with divisions during March and April to prepare a final budget, which will be we'll bring back this in May for final consideration.
Thank you very much. Do commissioners have questions or comments? Hearing none. Hearing some.
No, I just want to thank you for the report. And I wrote down some notes here that are pretty exciting around the community share program and the real intention about growing it and making it better, and also around the EV infrastructure. I think that is something that is very aligned with the Mayor Garcetti initiative around electrification. So I want to commend you and your team, and of course, if I start naming everybody, I will never end, but you know who you are. And I'm excited to see this, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 6D, greenhouse gas reduction efforts to support California's 2030 goal.
morning, Commissioners. Nancy Sutley, Chief Sustainability Officer, and I'm joined by Mark Solacek, the Director of Environmental Affairs. And we wanted to just give you an update on how we're doing in terms of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions versus the state's goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by the year 2030. So we'll just do a quick review of kind of where we are with our power system resources, some of the state and local legislation around greenhouse gas emission reductions and climate change, as well as the goals that are established there, what our greenhouse gas emission reduction programs look like, and talk about the particular role that transportation electrification will play in helping us to meet both the city's goals and the state's goals around addressing climate change. So as you all know, LADWP is a fully vertically integrated utility, so we own our transmission, distribution, and generation and serve Los Angeles and the Owens Valley. And we are also a balancing authority, so we operate our own electric grid, and that is important for our both our generation resources and reaching our renewable energy resources. So if we look at our current energy resources, you can see that we still have significant amount of generation that is fossil fuel, both coal and natural gas, but also a significant amount of generation that does not contribute any carbon emissions to the atmosphere, and that will continue to grow over time. And of course, the transmission system helps us to access renewable energy resources and other energy resources outside of the Los Angeles area. So turning to the greenhouse gas emission reduction goals, the state of California adopted the first goal in 2006 under AB 32 to reduce statewide greenhouse gas emissions to 1990 levels by 2020, and also permitted the establishment of a cap-and-trade program that would include both the in-state power plants and imported electricity. Importantly, at the same time, the legislature also adopted SB 1368 that requires that any new long-term investments in power would meet a very strict standard for greenhouse gas emissions, and that set in motion the requirement to divest our coal power plants. SB X12 in 2011 established the first statewide renewable energy goal for the public power, and of course now the statewide goal is set on renewables is set under SB 350, which passed in 2015, that requires us to get to 50% renewable energy by 2030. In 2016, the legislature enacted SB 32, which established the statewide emission reduction goal of 40% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions below 1990 levels by the year 2030. And just last year, the legislature authorized and continued the cap-and-trade program, which has been in place since 2012 through the year 2030. So turning quickly to the cap-and-trade program, this is sort of one of the major programs around not only reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but over the electric power sector that is sort of driving these long-term investments in cleaning up the production of electricity. And it gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of how we manage those greenhouse gas emission reductions. And it's been very helpful for LADWP in managing both the timing and the costs of investments to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Of course, you're also very familiar with the 100% clean energy vision motion from the council and the study that's going on underway. And of course, these goals are complemented and highlighted in the mayor's city sustainability plan. So if you look at sort of the investments that LADWP is making in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, and the goal statewide is to reduce those by 40% by 2030. And you can see that you're familiar with all of these programs. Our renewable energy goals that to get to, we're required to get to 50% by 2030, but our integrated resources plan shows us getting to 55% renewable energy by 2030 and 65% by 2036. This board set a goal to achieve 15% energy, 15% of our retail sales through energy efficiency in 2020, and as you heard, we are on track to meet that goal. Again, you're very familiar, we're looking at the options to replace the once-through cooling generation in basin, and the investments in repowering to date have helped us to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by replacing older, less efficient units with newer, more efficient units. And again, transportation electrification is a key strategy to help us, to help the state meet our greenhouse gas emission reduction goals. So this chart just tries to show kind of how those emission reductions are sort of distributed over these major programs. The early replacement of the Intermountain Power Project will has a very big impact on helping us to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And sort of next in line, increasing our renewable energy targets, again, helps us a great deal in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. Local solar and energy storage are also important programs to help us reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And as you can see, the transportation electrification going from sort of a kind of business as usual case to a high case of investment in transportation electrification infrastructure to achieve this high goal of having 580,000 what we call EV equivalents on the road in Los Angeles will make a big difference in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide. Again, just from a greenhouse gas perspective, the replacement of the coal units is the most effective, but it also is, once you're done, you're done. And that the sort of the kind of places where we can sort of dial things up are around transportation electrification, renewable energy, local solar, energy efficiency, and energy storage. One key strategy that LADWP has employed is to actually consider the cost of the carbon emissions in the use of our existing generating resources. So as the system operators make decisions about which power plants to operate when and how much, we factor in the cost of the carbon allowances or carbon emissions, and that's really helped us to drive down our greenhouse gas emissions significantly because when we consider the additional sort of carbon cost in when we're making operating decisions, it drives us towards using the lower greenhouse gas emitting resources first. And as you can see, as we've implemented this, as other utilities around California have as well, it's really helped to push down our greenhouse gas emissions significantly, starting really from 2013 to 2016. We've been able to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by more than a quarter, largely due to both this carbon adder and our increased use of renewable energy. Energy efficiency also plays a very important role. You can see that starting in 2013-14 through today, we've been able to avoid a significant amount of greenhouse gas emissions. And if you look out to the last bar there for 29-30, the reason that number is so much lower is not because we are taking our foot off the gas on energy efficiency. It's just that the greenhouse gas intensity of our generating resources will have decreased so much that the sort of the additional CO2 benefit of energy efficiency actually goes down over time. So the greenhouse gas intensity, and we'll have a slide on that in a minute, of our generating resources overall is going down so much that, that from a greenhouse gas perspective, energy efficiency plays less and less a role as time goes on, but clearly for helping customers save money on their bills continues to be an incredibly important investment. And again, you see that we are transitioning all of our energy resources to lower greenhouse gas energy resources, reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and increasing our use of renewable energy significantly over time, and factoring in our energy efficiency investments. Overall, California is expecting to get a significant amount of the greenhouse gas emission reductions out of the electric sector overall. All of the electricity producers in California are making investments to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. And as you can see, the sort of the cap on emissions for the electric sector goes down significantly over time, and this will help California to meet those 2030 goals. And as you can see, again, from DWP's perspective, we are doing quite well in terms of meeting both our sort of immediate goals, where we have already exceeded the statewide 2030 target. And by 2030, our greenhouse gas emissions should be close to the state's long-term goal for 2050 of 80% below 1990 levels, as the way we produce electricity gets cleaner over time. And again, as I said, one of the things that's really interesting is to look at, for every megawatt hour that we produce, how much CO2 is associated with that. And as you can see over time, even starting back in 1990, we were at about 1,600 pounds of carbon per megawatt hour, and that's gone down significantly to date, and dropped. You can see a big drop in 2016 as a result of both the carbon adder and our renewable energy resources. And by 2030, the CO2 intensity of our electricity produced will be about a quarter of what it was in 1990. And so, as I said, as we've been hearing all morning, transportation electrification will play an incredibly important role. Even if we look at our current generation mix, there's about a 3-to-1 greenhouse gas savings for an electric vehicle. That is, electric vehicle produces one-third of the greenhouse gas emissions of a gasoline passenger vehicle today, and that number that ratio goes up over time as our generation resources get cleaner and cleaner, and the greenhouse gas emission savings as a result of incremental investments in electrification are very cost effective, and will make a big difference in the state's ability to meet the 2030 goals. Importantly, also, electrification helps us deal with our local air pollution problems. Los Angeles still has the dirtiest air in the nation, and the South Coast Air Quality Management District, the South Coast Air Basin, needs to make significant reductions in emissions of NOx, the precursor of smog, and that's largely has to come out of the mobile source sector, so come out of cars, trucks, buses, and other transportation-related emissions. Currently, transportation-related emissions account for more than 85% of the NOx emissions in the LA basin. And if we look at what LADWP has been able to do, we've reduced our NOx emissions, our in-basin NOx emissions, by over 91% from 1990 levels, and we represent about 1/10% of the total NOx emissions in the South Coast Air Basin. So anything that we can do to help help get emissions out of the transportation sector is very helpful to the air that we breathe. And then again, you can see that not only are we significantly reducing our greenhouse gas emissions through 2030 and beyond, but that again, any incremental investments we can make in electrification will help to further drive down greenhouse gas emissions, not only in the LA Basin, but statewide and really nationwide. So that's it. We just wanted to give you an update and happy to answer any questions.
Well, it's very impressive, and it was very clear and concise and encouraging. So you have to stick around till 2030.
I did want to add something. As Nancy mentioned, we've talked about a lot of electrification of the transportation sector, and one of the things that I'm focusing on is, again, something that I haven't seen done in California, and that is we have our renewable portfolio standard for the electric sector, and then we're starting to get goals about electrification of the transportation sector. So if we electrify all the vehicles, it's going to increase our load by 50%. So I've directed the power system to add an alternative to the integrated resource plan, which would be a full electrification of all vehicles over 20 years. So we can see a resource mix that would be required as we mesh together the electric sector goals with the transportation sector goals to find out how much energy we're going to need and what our investments are going to have to be. And I haven't seen another utility do that, but we have to plan for this additional load. And as you know, you have to plan decades in advance for what sort of resources we need, where we need them. And obviously the perfect world is going to be the vehicles are going to store the energy. We'll power up the batteries, and then when we need energy, we'll pull it back. And there'll be a fantastic dynamic which doesn't exist yet in any workable format, but we'll at least start having the information we need to move forward and figure out what we invest in, how we invest in it, to incorporate a 50% increase in demand.
That sounds essential, so I'm glad you're doing that. Commissioner, questions or comments? Ratepayer advocate? No?
Exciting.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Nice
Well
job.
done.
Okay, Financial Services Organization report for November 2017.
We have the November and the December reports in your packages if there's any questions.
Any questions? No. December, are you November and December? Okay. RPS, January?
Yeah, that report is in your file, and I'll be happy to answer questions.
Questions? Report on payment of environmental fines and penalties.
That report is included, and I did want to just note, for having a $7 billion budget, we did pay $47,000 in fines, which is phenomenal compared to most organizations. Our goal is to pay none, but there were a few small fines to the Regional Water Quality Control Board and SCA QMD.
Those must have been mistaken impositions. Nice, very nice.
Yeah, I find this very impressive because if you look at the record reflecting back even 5-8 years ago, that cost has gone down substantially. So I applaud everyone who's responsible for that decline.
Barbara, discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 13th at which all commissioners were present? Second, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see. I was not present at the meeting of the 27th, so I don't think Can I vote to? I cannot. So we have to hold off on the minutes for the 27th. Okay. Items 30 and 31 will require a recusal of one commissioner each. Do any commissioners wish to remove any items through on 11 through 29 from the consent calendar?
Yes. Hold on a second, I'm looking. Which one is there for the EV? Sharing, the use?
The use, that's
23. 23.
23? Okay. 23 will be held and discussed. Any others?
I don't want to remove item 16. I just want to quickly chime in to the comments that were made earlier this morning by our general manager. Item 16 relates to excess liability and wildlife liability insurance policy. As I mentioned previously, our staff has coordinated calls. I think they've done a wonderful job with strategy, but it's important to realize that our department is getting penalized not because we're responsible for all the fires that transpired. In fact, we're responsible for 1 out of 3, yet our premiums are going up because of fires that we didn't fall in our area or jurisdiction. But that being said, I applaud you for working with Ron Nichols and Edison to get the permitting required to clear the brush areas, especially with vital transformers, because you think of all of the families that have been inflicted, the wildlife, the ratepayers being charged in excess for not being able to take these precautions. So I thank you for all your travel and working jointly with Edison and other private utility groups to get the necessary permitting done. So thank you.
And I have one comment on it also that I thought of during your report, which I also appreciated. I don't know which members of Congress or staffs you met with when you were in Washington, but I would think on this issue, if there was some bipartisan interest in being helpful, that some Republican members of the appropriate committees might have some influence with this administration on that issue, and it might be worth going back to them. Okay, is there a motion to approve items 11 through 22 and 23 through 24 through 29?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those are approved. We need to hold off on 30 and 31 till Commissioner Funderburg gets here, because we're going to need 3 people for each of those, and each of you are going to have to circulate in and out. But item 23, Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes. Where's the EV team here?
Yeah, Marvin Moon is here and he can come up.
Marvin, come. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
How are
Marvin
you?
Moon, Director of Power Engineering. I'm here with Jason Hills, the Electric Vehicle Program Manager.
Would you walk us quickly through the presentation that you have?
Absolutely. I'll ask Jason to give the discussion.
Sure. Okay. So first, wanted to begin with the significance of actually targeting used vehicles, beginning with their availability. So we did a little research looking at the state's rebates available over the past year since they established the CVRP program, Clean Vehicle Rebate Program. And we found that up until 2016, there had been approximately 26,000 electric vehicles that have been purchased and rebated in LADWP territory. So that in itself showed that there was an available market. Sorry.
Their use.
Oh yes. So these are the cars that were rebated in the city of LA that now could be sold as a used car. So there is an available market there at this time. So some of the other benefits of having a used EV is that they typically have lower mileage. And that one of the reasons for that is because typically these vehicles have been leased initially in the earlier years, and now these leases have ended after about 3 years. So because of that, they actually are in better condition. Also, the lower maintenance cost, which many know that really primarily the costs of maintaining an electric vehicle include tire replacements and brake changes, no more fluid replacements. And also there's the warranty of the battery system, which it typically is between 8 to 10 years. So having a car that's only maybe 3 years old or so, you still have many years left of warranty available. And really the biggest significance to targeting used vehicles, electric vehicles, is that it helps us increase accessibility to these vehicles, especially in the low-income disadvantaged communities. So here's what we're proposing. Basically, effective April 1st for a 3-year period, a maximum expenditure of $900,000 for 2,000 rebates of $450 each. This will be funded through the Low Carbon Fuel Standard Program's credit proceeds. And let's see, for our responsibilities, we are planning to monitor where these rebate applications come and basically target areas that are not getting as many applications moving forward. And we intend to promote the program through education and outreach, and I will discuss that a little bit more later. So who's eligible? Got to be a LADWP customer, but not necessarily the name on the account. So you need to reside at an address that is being served through LADWP. And you have to, it's limited to 1 rebate per person and actually per vehicle. We do have a requirement. A qualified vehicle must be a 4-wheel vehicle that's registered through DOT approved. And we will provide a list online showing which vehicles are eligible for this rebate. The vehicle must be purchased after the initial date of this program, so we are not going to retroactively rebate cars that have been purchased, because this is actually an incentive to promote further purchases of vehicles. And one of the ways we're going to verify that they are a DWP customer is that the car must be registered at the DWP address. Also, to ensure that we're focusing on the cars that are going to be lower cost, we're targeting cars that are 2 model years older than the date of the vehicle that's being purchased. So that's that. Now, as far as application guidelines, what's required? We want to keep this somewhat simple as much as we can to increase the amount of applicants. We are requiring, of course, the completed application with original signature, supporting documents such as the DMV registration, the proof of residence, which could be a utility bill or a signed rental agreement, and the copy of bill of sale, which we are going to require just to ensure we can verify it has been purchased. And basically, it's a 3-year program that will end March 31st of 2021 or until funds are exhausted. And what I mentioned about education and outreach, so we believe this is a critical tool to have in our effort to increase EV adoption. So we already are putting a lot of effort into adding EV charging stations throughout the city, through our rebates, through direct installations, through partnering with our other city agencies and using their property as well. We also have our EV rate discount, the 2.5 cents, but we're working on additional programs such as a smart charger rebate program to also make that even simpler. And then the vehicle rebates. So that's one more thing. I've gone to some meetings with the public where I've been told that it is it's great you're offering this, but it's not for us. But we want to actually be able to say this is for you also. And we plan to include other offerings from partners such as AQMD. They have the Replace Your Right program, which can be as much as $9,500 for a vehicle, new or used, for low-income communities. So we will partner up and work on educating the public on those offerings so that we can provide the full package of vehicle incentives, charger accessibility and incentives, discount rates, and the education aspect. And that's all.
Thank you. It's exciting that to see the department moving towards more incentives for EV. I think that that's very aligned with the mayor's goals around electrification and the state goals also around electrification. So I'm excited to see this. I mean, ideally, and I will see it bigger and better, but this is a great start. I wanted to ask you a few questions about how do you qualify? Because it sounds to me for your presentation that you can qualify if you just, if you're a resident, if you have the qualifications, if you want to purchase an EV car, so pretty straightforward qualifications. But I'm wondering if we can create a program or an additional incentive for customers that are low income. Customers that $450 is, of course, is money that you don't have, but that they will not be incentivized by $450, to be honest. So, people like my neighbor that she wouldn't, she sees my electric car every day and she comments and she loves it. She's a little older. Yeah. But she always tells me, like, I can afford an EV car being a public school teacher and, having responsibilities. So have you guys thought about creating a specific bracket for low income?
Yeah, actually, Commissioners, we have. This is a pilot, and that's why we kind of put the cap at 2,000 rebates. We're not sure how fast they're going to go, but I suspect they're going to go pretty fast. And it's going to be a learning experience as well. And to the extent that the used vehicles themselves have depreciated so much, a lot of them are in the $8,000 or $9,000 range, so $450 is quite a decent chunk of that lower price used car. For the low-income part, like Jason said, we're going to be targeting the outreach of our program, and we're going to be learning from these 2,000, this pilot, and expect that if the program is successful, coming back with perhaps a special offering for the low-income community.
Since we're already designing this program, I wonder if we should just do it now. Why we will wait? Especially because I'm wondering, and the other question that I have for you is, did you guys utilize the equity metric to design this program? I don't want us to start a new pilot program and find ourselves with issues like the ones that we had in the past, where we had the best intentions, but we didn't really reach those customers that really needed it. So I know that it's not a lot. It's $450, and the full cap of the pilot is not pretty big. But I wonder, since we're starting it now, I feel like maybe we should test the water also with the low-income folks, and I think that would be my recommendation also for you, David, to see if we can figure this out. And this is state money. I know where you're going, Council. This is state money that we're getting, so it's not really tied to our rates.
There are still legal ramifications to offering there are still legal ramifications to offering different classes of rebates, even if it's not repair money. So it's something we have to take a closer look at as to how that is offered if you're going to make that proposal, as opposed to just making it amendment to today's policy.
Even if it's state funding, even
Correct.
if it's not tied to the rates.
Correct. There are still legal issues with how you provide alternative levels.
I think, as a compromise, we can just make an extra effort to reach out to lower socioeconomic neighborhoods so that they're aware of this opportunity. So that might be a nice medium for now.
I did also want to mention that we look at the charging stations and where there are the most renters, because getting the vehicle is important, but also ensuring that there's places to charge the vehicle. As you know, we provide an incentive that equates almost basically to the entire cost of putting in a charger, but we can't force a landlord to put a charger in. So in those areas where there's high amounts of renters, we'll be focusing on how to put off-site charging stations along, hanging from power poles. I've asked staff to identify infill lots, which small pieces of property that we might own in residential areas, and start looking if we can put charging stations, kind kind of like the one I mentioned on the way to Vegas. We might have 10 charging stations on a small lot that's in a local neighborhood, that's, you know, residential, with a high proportion of renters. Because if you own a house, you can already get a charger. So we need to focus on those that don't have the ability to ensure they have a charger at their home. So that is another way we can incentivize individuals to say, hey, you know, not only can you get this vehicle, which we looked at, in APPA actually, they talked about this. The price of used electric vehicles is pretty close to the cost of used gas vehicles with the same amount of mileage. So that premium kind of disappears as it becomes 2 or 3 years old. So the affordability is there. There's a longer range guarantee. The cost of operations is lower. And we need to make sure that we provide the incentive that there's a place to charge it wherever you go. We just put in a number of chargers at the Crenshaw Customer Service Center. So it's those kind of strategic installations that I think can help, not 100% meet what you'd like to see, but can help along that direction.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Noonan that we definitely need to make an effort to outreach those folks that have the least EV penetration with charging stations, because if we're going to provide rebates, and if there are based in the current locations where there is EV charging stations, we're in trouble. I can tell you, because there are a lot of neighborhoods that are low income, and not even low income. I don't live in a low income area. I live in Silver Lake. And ask me how many charging stations there are. 0. So I think that we need to maybe look at this a little deeper, and I welcome the proposal that Commissioner Noonan made about, can we look at where, can we pair up, and actually, Mr. Wright, your initiative has always been your priority around EV infrastructure, which I think is it really harmoniously working, you know, right now, to see how we can actually provide more EV charging stations in places where maybe these folks can also get, you know, those rebates. So I want to really highlight the issue of equity with EV, because we had plenty of examples and case studies around solar, and we should try to avoid, you know, repeating the poor planning, let's say, the things that we overlooked in the past. Right. And especially now that we have an opportunity, I would really like to see, and being advised and warned by our council, I would really like to see this program where there is the least EV charging stations and also penetration. So in those areas where people traditionally wouldn't be able to get an electrical car, or wouldn't even think about getting an electric car because it's just out of their price range or even their radar.
I think this is a perfect opportunity to work alongside Christopher Hawthorne, as I mentioned, who's going to be working with a big picture design for LA in all neighborhoods encompassing Los Angeles. So this is, you know, just a perfect opportunity to work with him and see where these stations could be positioned, whether it's in parks or different multi-use facilities. But I echo, you know, your passion to make this equitable for everyone to have the opportunity to have an electric car.
We fully support your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Council.
Certainly.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
I second.
Those in favor? Aye. It's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to need a quorum for items 30 and 31, and we are going to lose one commissioner for each of them. So we'll wait for Commissioner Funderburk on those, and we'll go back now, I think, to 6A and B. So 6A.
So Joe Romalo is going to start with 6A, and he'll be followed by Mike Basich, who will take over 6B.
There you go.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much. Joe Romalo, Assistant General Manager for Communications, Media, and Community Affairs. It's a pleasure to present to you this morning. I'm going to focus my presentation on community affairs, which is one component of the work that we do in my division. I have wonderful managers on my team and a wonderful team of staff that includes our Community Affairs Manager, Stephanie Spicer, and her team, our Media Relations Manager, Ellen Chang, Educational Outreach, which is led by Walter Zeisel, a longtime veteran of the department and the leader of our Science Bowl effort, which I'll mention, as well as Michelle Figueroa, who heads up our corporate communications, internal communications at the department. Our focus really is, and our mission really is to communicate, promote, engage, build relationships, raise awareness, and instill trust while doing so. Our community outreach activities are varied and diverse and reach the entire city. We work closely with neighborhood councils as well as homeowners associations. We have a Speakers Bureau program that we staff and run and recruit for, as well as all of the exhibits and displays that are sent out throughout the city on a regular basis. We also staff presentations and speaking opportunities at neighborhood councils and community groups and other opportunities that we make available from time to time as needed for commissioners to participate or our executive management. We do community meetings and special event production. Coming up, our Earth Day celebration over at Grand Park is one of our signature events every year that we're very proud of. We also do something that's little known and understood, but very important, and that's construction outreach. We do a lot of work related to all of the construction activity that's going on in both the water and power system. We also do Owens Valley outreach and activities, tours. We handle sponsorships and processing that paperwork through my team and review, as well as inquiry and case management. I mention all of this at the same time saying that one of our big functions that is very that's occasional and hopefully less occasional than other times is major incident response. When we have an incident in the community, such as the UCLA trunk line rupture, not only media relations responds, but also community relations. In that incident and others of that magnitude, we actually staff tables, information booths with claim forms on an ongoing basis from this team. So our work can get significantly interrupted from time to time based upon a major incident or a major media issue that comes up. We are unique in the city. We have a unique relationship with neighborhood councils and a partnership. This was something that was established over a decade ago, really, and is something we're very proud of. As you know, we work closely with Tony Wilkinson and the Neighborhood Council MOU Committee. That's a formal relationship with neighborhood councils and the department. It was recently renewed for a 5-year term in 2017. And a lot of the work of our staff in community affairs involves that relationship with maintaining connection with both neighborhood council members as well as homeowners association members. We now have a full complement of staff, 6 dedicated liaisons to both neighborhood councils as well as just regionally in the city as issues come up, and that I'll mention to you through our inquiry management system. We regularly attend the regional alliances that exist throughout the city that are depicted on this map, as well as participate and go out as requested and as opportunities come up to individual neighborhood councils across the city. Recently, we joined Next Door. That was an effort that was brought to our attention by Commissioner Funderburk and Commissioner Vasquez, and we've seen very good results with it. Next Door is a social media platform where neighbors throughout the city, and it's broken up into geographic areas, can communicate about various issues. So we have a presence there. We regularly post our construction updates now to Next Door. We also can receive inquiries through that system on complaints or issues that come up in the department. One that we noticed, for example, was that there were power poles that were being laid on sidewalk as staging area for some of the major work that's being done through the power reliability program. We were able to reach out, explain what it is, get the timeline to the folks that asked about it, and address their concern, hopefully, successfully. So we're regularly posting to that. It has 1.8, they represent about 250,000 of the 1.8 million households in the city of LA have some type of a Nextdoor account. Another way that we operate online is handling inquiry responses, not only through Nextdoor, but also those received via email through the Ask the GM function that was introduced by Marcy Edwards when she was GM and continued by our current GM. We have staff that are dedicated and case manage every inquiry that comes in through that system, from acknowledging receipt of it to seeing it through to conclusion and resolution for the customer. Occasionally we'll get compliments, we'll get complaints, we'll get questions about department operations through that function, and it's handled by our community affairs staff on a regular basis. They do a fantastic job really managing those more complicated issues that really come through that portal usually. To give you an idea, we typically handle 8 to 10 of those inquiries a day. My staff also monitors social media for issues that come up on either Twitter or Facebook that we need to engage in and respond to. We don't handle the proactive, that's handled by marketing, which Mike can speak to, but we do handle the regular monitoring and monitoring during storms or other incidents. I mentioned we staff a speakers bureau. It's comprised of 50 LADWP employees from across divisions that go out and speak or represent us at booths and fairs and festivals that you may have seen throughout the city. Our community events is an area that we really take pride in and has grown a great deal, both with our graphics team and with marketing now. They give us great materials and develop great materials for us to go out. Also partnering with the water and power system. As you know, we have the solar trailer as well as the water truck, and also branded water fountains for things like the marathon and other major community events and festivals where we really can have a presence for the department in the community. The water truck is extremely popular. And regularly is emptied and in incredible demand, such that we at some point will probably consider adding a second one. The water cube. Got it. In addition to that, we have community meetings that I mentioned for both stakeholder engagement. These can range anything from attending a neighborhood council meeting to talk about rates, or taking energy efficiency or water conservation devices and pitching our programs there. Construction-related projects, DS 104 comes to mind out in Palisades, where we've had a long-standing, ongoing dialogue with the community about the needs there and the pole tops that have gone up in the interim. We also have and manage for the department, together with the systems, a stakeholder engagement process through major initiatives such as our urban water management plan, the stormwater capture master plan. You mentioned, Commissioner Vasquez, the 100% renewable energy study plan, as well as the equity metrics stakeholders that we brought together on that project together with John Chen and his team, and other various needs related to EIRs that are going on for various projects across the department. We'll work collaboratively with environmental affairs on those. Some of our more popular events and speaking opportunities, the Silver Lake Reservoir South Dam grand opening was incredibly, the walkway there was incredibly popular. Almost 1,000 people attended that Saturday. We had the opportunity for Commissioner Levine to speak there, as well as Marty Adams. And it's been a wonderful community amenity. So we assisted in planning and executing that event. Chatsworth Nature Preserve Open House every year is a very popular event. And there's other speaking opportunities that come up very regularly for our staff. I want to take a moment to focus really on this slide because it gives you an idea of the magnitude and the degree to which we have increased our outreach each year. The community affairs function was transferred into communications in 2015. We added 2 staff then and significantly increased the number of community events and meetings. You'll notice meetings are only broken out in the last 2 years because we didn't have this separate distinction in the previous years, so that's why there's a slight difference in the data represented here. But this last year, we literally had more than 1 event on average per day across the city where we were either at a table, sharing information, speaking at a community meeting, attending and answering questions, those types of activities. Our operations have increased substantially. And it's been helped with adding 4 staff members that are those dedicated neighborhood council and community liaisons in 2017. That's a 6-fold increase from 2013 in terms of our overall community events and meetings activity. We've also, through the Equity Metrics Initiative, mapped our activity. So these data points reflect the number of times that we've been at a particular, had a particular event, speaking opportunity, meeting, tabling, et cetera, all across the city. So it gives you a good idea of the geographic reach all of our meetings and events.
Out of curiosity, I know that for General Manager Wright, it's always been a top priority for him to increase customer service and outreach. And so I think these numbers are a reflection of your leadership. But given the increase in events, is it a combination of our outreach timed by organizations asking us to speak? What's the ratio? What's responsible for the increase?
It's definitely both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that we have more staff to go out and we've let people know that means that we're getting more requests for it. So it's always a combination. You know, the major festivals and events, they usually come to us and invite us.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, we may not have been able to do a particular event because we were fully maxed out on a particular weekend. But the other thing is we leverage across the department with the Speakers Bureau who staff these regular weekend type events. There's also been, frankly, a significant increased interest, not only by our GM, but by the board, connecting us with other people, the mayor's office encouraging us or inviting us to attend a particular event they have on the weekend or during the week. So it truly has been a combination of us getting out there more and people asking for more, and then obviously the invitations coming to us for the major types of activities.
I'm very impressed that you're able to accomplish so much with just an additional 4 staff members. The other thing that you don't mention, which I don't take for granted, is, you know, when there is a serious situation, for example, you know, the transformer that made downtown go dark, and all of a sudden I was bombarded with emails and text messages asking when's the power going to be up, and within minutes we received just a summary as to what was being done, what the timetable is. So it really helps us to communicate to people as to how quickly situations can be resolved. So I thank you for doing that as well.
Thank
and
you.
I think that should be acknowledged.
Thank you very much. I mentioned the capital project and construction outreach. This is a function that in the past was not really formally centralized, and we've worked with the systems, water system and power system, on their projects. It comprises a great deal of the time of our staff. We have 30 active construction projects right now that we're regularly updating, and Nextdoor has been a great venue for us to be able to share that kind of information, because frankly Facebook's really not the page to be telling people that your street tomorrow is going to be closed from 6 a.m. to 9 or whatever. So it's been a good opportunity for us to extend that reach, because we're doing the work and we have the information, we're plugged into the systems. The issue is how are you getting it, what channels are you using to get it through to your customers. There's more to do there in terms of digital reach to our customers that we're going to look at and work on. But for now, this type of connection with the systems, updating on everything from major transmission line projects to water line projects and trunk lines has been a good partnership, and it's one that keeps us very busy with all of the investments that we're making across the city. I mentioned Owens Valley outreach and staffing. There is one dedicated position in the Owens Valley for public relations and community outreach. That position's actually been vacant for a while. We recently attempted to hire to replace the position and did not find candidates. Through a vast pool, we only had 2 candidates that applied, and we did not make an offer. So what we're actually doing is reaching out to city personnel. We're going to establish a separate list specifically for that position in Owens Valley in the hopes of attracting a qualified candidate who's already living and working there, who perhaps otherwise wouldn't apply for a job here in Los Angeles. So we're hoping to have success with that, and in the interim, if we get their permission, filling it on an emergency basis, because we need a regular staff member working with the water and power system staff there in Northern District to really help us take the most advantage of our presence there and help improve relations, which I know are always a challenge.
I support you taking the time to find the right person, given the complexities of the different interests and responsibilities that we have in Owens Valley. So
I thought you were volunteering.
I spent enough time there. In fact,
She's already an unpaid volunteer.
Yes, right. In fact, I had a visitor from Owens Valley this weekend, and since then I've received 2 calls from individuals in Owens Valley. So I do think it's very important to get the right person and somebody who is well versed and very diplomatic and understanding our responsibilities and the different interests and desires of the communities in Owens Valley.
And I want to assure you, there's not an entire void because we've got great staff there that we work with regularly. They've been bringing to our attention various community events and opportunities, but also making direct contact. I, for example, spoke recently with the head of the Chamber of Commerce there in Bishop and about the Blake Jones Trout Derby, which is very important to them because it was canceled last year due to the extreme runoff. So she was very appreciative. We were able to sponsor the event at a slightly higher amount than last year, which they were very grateful for, and also putting ads out there because we had a recent fire there that affected part of the area. So there are efforts to improve and to develop more meaningful relationships, but it will very much help to have somebody day-to-day on the ground up there full-time. And as I mentioned, some of the events that we've done up there, I have it here up on the screen. The Owens Lake Birds Festival is also coming up at the end of April. If any of you are interested in going, it's a beautiful, wonderful event, and we'd love to have you up for it. The Mule Days we sponsor and have staff attending this year from my team for the first time as well. We handle facility tours for the department, and that involves usually LA Filtration Plant, Power Plant 1 and 2, as well as Castaic Power Plant. And we're looking to expand that. There's some operating constraints that we have because these are functioning department facilities. There are also security issues. We've been really working well with Rich and his team on some of those issues. Just last weekend, for example, we had a great community event and a tour of Power Plant 1 with folks who were commemorating the St. Francis Dam disaster, who are part of a group up in Santa Clarita that means a great deal to them and the history of their area. And it was our involvement with them, with both the speaking panel as well as a tour of the power plant, made the whole experience and recent anniversary much more meaningful for them. I mentioned educational outreach. This is frankly work that is done largely by Walter Zeisel and his and a group of staff who work for others in our team. They do a wonderful job with Science Bowl. We support the academic decathlon and specific training here at the department to ready teams for it. And actually, if you can't really see, but right behind Marty, there's an example of the different types of activities that we've done through the educational outreach program. And I'll flip to the next slide, actually, because it's a better view of it. But we reach 130,000 students a year. We're looking for ways to partner with groups, including Discovery Cube, on how to extend that reach. We're in 542 schools already with a variety of programs that include Science Bowl, Adopt a School. We have a wonderful Environmental Teacher Institute that we host here as well as at MWD, where teachers come through and learn about sustainability, renewable energy, local water supply development, our energy, clean energy supply transformation.
I want to applaud just how well you communicate, whether it's through NPR or other media outlets, about our Science Bowl. I think it really reflects beautifully on the department being involved in our community. And it ties in very nicely with the Society of Women Engineers, getting that message out. So I think you do a wonderful job in celebrating the success of the finalists and the winners. So.
Thank you. And the credit goes to Walter and his team and the team of volunteers across the entire department who've really embraced that program. It's now in its 25th, 26th anniversary, and we are very committed to continuing. It's been a real success in highlighting, and if you haven't been, I encourage you to next year because the kids will blow your mind with their knowledge of science and math.
No, I quickly was listening to the challenges that they were faced with, and it was way over my head. I'm like, huh? So, very impressive.
One of the other items that we handle through my team involves sponsorships, and I know this is a topic of some questions and just lack of clarity or understanding about how we handle that. So I wanted to include some slides here about that process. Sponsorships provide visibility to the department, across the department. And I'll get to it in additional slides, they need to have a nexus to the department. But on average, we participate in about $500,000 out of our $5 billion annual budget in types of dinners, events, and support for nonprofits where we do receive value. That amounts, for example, to 33 cents per customer per year for that investment. And in fact, after the recent media, we received some criticism for the level being rather low. So there's definitely views on both sides of that. Sponsorships all have guidelines, and it's actually something that's set forth in the charter regarding the permissibility of use of DWP funds. Charter Section 679 specifically limits it to promotion of department products and services or the promotion of conservation. There's actually a sponsorship policy that the expenditure must further DWP goals in one of 10 areas, and I can elaborate on those if you'd like. There are times when we receive last-minute requests. We review them. They all go through and have to meet the same criteria, and frankly, some of them don't, and we say no. But we do want you to know there is a formal process and criteria for those sponsorships. There is actual formal documentation. Every sponsorship we do, this is the form that's filled out by the system. It has to be approved by the senior AGM from that system, as well as reviewed by myself and approved by either the chief operating officer or our general manager. We look for every sponsorship where we're going to see a return on our investment. That can be in the way of attendance. It can be in the way of giving out information, having an informational table, having signage, some way to promote the department. Maybe we're featured as a speaker or a guest speaker. Those types of opportunities, booth space and such, most organizations, if not all, typically have, and you'll see this is just an example of a typical menu of what you get for various sponsorship levels. We always try to negotiate a better deal and get a little bit more when we sponsor. We also want to make sure you know do not sponsor typically ever at the highest level. It's usually a second or a third tier level sponsorship that we come in at, and not at the highest level.
I just have a quick question. You mentioned offering financial support when and where it makes sense, and that as a parallels to other utilities, 33 cents per year per customer is low. If we were interested in increasing that amount, how do you go about doing that? Is that a board agendized item, or is this something that has to be done through a city ordinance? How does that work?
No, it's really a budget item, and it's sort of a reasonable test. How much can we, with our existing resources and staff that's even larger now, really, there's a point where you start giving organizations money, but you're not able to ensure that you're getting value for it. And so, that happens to be when we went through and tallied it up, it equaled approximately $500,000 for those types of events. I'll tell you that is $500,000 more than where we were at 10 years ago, because the department was doing practically zero in this space. So I feel like we've hit a pretty good sweet spot right now in terms of what we can handle for those kinds of events. There are other areas we can grow that I'm going to get to in just one or two more slides, where we think that there's some partnerships that could really make sense to expand and would require more investment.
Joe, just clarify, we're not limited to 500,000. That's the amount of things that we found value in that have come to us so far. So it's not a dollar limiting, it's a value limiting.
Now I understand.
And there's flexibility if more opportunities come up for that number to go. It's not a ceiling. The department partners with nonprofits in a variety of ways. There can be contracts for services. Those include professional services, often at rates that are lower than the private sector. We've discussed this with Water and Power System. There's also the Conservation Nonprofit Grants Program that reach hard-to-reach communities that's administered by Energy Efficiency and fall under Nancy Sutley and her team. Those are approximately $1 million a year for energy efficiency and water conservation outreach. It's definitely more investment on the energy efficiency side. They are also looking to increase that amount in this current budget and are in discussions with our Chief Financial Officer about that. So there's an opportunity for us to grow there with those programs. It's a administered grant program where it's competitive. There's also, as I mentioned, the event sponsorships. So in terms of a look ahead, really our focus will continue to engage on priority issues for the department. When we either go out with materials or go out and speak at an event, there are some key topics that we hear from our customers that they want to hear about or that we want them to know and learn more about. And those include water quality, solar and EVs, like we just mentioned in the item previous, our recruitment efforts, our water and power supply transformation, equity metrics, our infrastructure replacement, rate competitiveness, et cetera. The other thing is really continuing this ramped up communications with neighborhood councils and stakeholders. We're not where we want to be, but we're on the path to it. And there's definitely a really committed focus on the part of my team. Stephanie Spicer, who's the manager of that group, and Michelle really done a phenomenal job. And we're looking for more ways to reach our stakeholders with this key messaging, as well as just with basic information they need that makes us a more friendly neighbor in their area when we're out doing work in the neighborhood. The final area really is an area where we want to expand in discussions with our GM. He's approved adding to the final budget that'll come back and ultimately be reviewed by you, $500,000 for a grant program for targeted outreach and outreach partnerships. We know we've invested a great deal in the neighborhood council relationship and fostering that. We know there are community-based organizations that can help us on these key topics and not just on water conservation and energy efficiency. So really to get us out talking and bringing together people that they have in their network through these community-based organizations in various parts of the city. A program like that, I know that Edison has this, for example, where nonprofits can apply and tell you, here's the scope of work. We will get together 100 people in Koreatown where you can talk to them about energy efficiency and your power supply transformation. And they're successful at it because they have networks that we haven't really been able to tap into, or that they're just more efficient and have the staff to be able to do it. So that's a program that we're adding to the budget this year, and we're really excited to get rolling on. Part of that effort will also be some place-based partnerships. Some of the items that have come up really as one-off requests. For example, the Watts Tower Arts Center came up. We'd like this pot of funds to be available to use as items come up so that we can work with people and say, okay, give us a proposal, how would it work? In this case, they have an interest in EV chargers, some local exhibits, and potentially some programmatic support. We did that when the Department of Cultural Affairs came to us a couple years ago on their current LA water exhibit, where they had a series of events around the city, and we contributed to it. And also there's a current water exhibit that's going in at El Pueblo that Marketing and Economic Development is working on with water system. So those kind of place-based initiatives are ones that we think would have value as well. And finally, almost finally, we have, again, construction outreach. This is the list of the 30 construction projects that we're working on with the systems. Actually, I'm sorry, it says 40. I got to go back and add it up. It's a lot. And in addition to that, just the key events. This is not all-inclusive, but it really gives an idea of looking ahead where we plan to be at some of the larger events and celebrations around the city. It also includes a focus on the Heritage Month celebrations that the City Cultural Affairs Department participates in that we want to be more involved in. And with that, I have, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I was wondering if maybe the board would like to go into 6B, and
Sure.
then at the end, I'd like to make a few closing comments,
Good.
and then Joe and Mike will be available
Good.
That'll be
to
great.
answer
Good.
everything.
Good afternoon, President Levine, members of the Commission. Mike Basich, Assistant General Manager, Marketing and Economic Development. I actually once swore that I would never be the last speaker between you and food, so I apologize. And if anybody behind me or in front of me is dozing off during this presentation, I'll not take it personally. I want to show you, there's a bunch of slides here. It goes pretty quickly. It's a new group. I kind of want to give you the breakdown. Myself, Brooks Baker, who cannot be here today, is the Marketing Director. Brian is the Economic Development Director. We'll come back. Today I'm going to focus on marketing, so we'll come back and talk about economic development at a future date. And we have a great graphics team consisting of Virginia Candia, Eric Botero, and Ashley Negretti is actually in charge of our web team. You're going to hear about all of that. Also, there's some staff members here today I would like to recognize briefly because I'll show you some amazing things that they've done. And as a newcomer to LADWP, I was so astonished and pleasantly surprised by the amount of talent that you have here at LADWP. When I came in, I thought that I would have to outsource some of what we want to do in terms of rebranding and logo modification and so forth, but the team here is so amazing, including you have a couple of gift packages in front of you. There's a box, a stationery box, designed in-house by an employee. We didn't go out of the building to do any of this. That was designed by Chi Hong Shea. We also have Dominique James, who's a graphic artist, Zhao Deng, Kim Hughes, Terry Schneider, Vonda Page are here from social media side of things, which you'll see is very important. And then we have Chris Korsmeyer is our photographer, along with Art, whom you know, and my UES, Letitia, is make sure I I get the right presentation to the right audience. So I'll go as quickly as I can. I just want to overall talk about marketing, what it is. It's brand, it's strategy, and it's communications, as many of you know from some of the comments I've heard over the several months I've been here. Brand is obviously logo, look and feel, et cetera. I won't read everything to you. Strategy is research, development, and kind of like getting our customer service reps to buy into our message, to know what we're all speaking about as one voice, as one department. At the bottom of the strategy column, you'll see competitive collateral, and I want to touch on that a little bit later. In communications, you know this instinctively. It's paid ads, it's video, it's social, et cetera, TV, direct web. It's so appropriate that Joe actually went first, because we are very much an organization that would support what Joe does. If I do a good job here, hopefully Joe's job will actually get a lot easier, and we'll show you why. This is a great snapshot to show you all types of media. This model is called PESO. Some people call it SOAP. PESO stands for paid, earned, shared, and owned media. And if you get all those things right at the center of that, you become an authority where people are coming to you for your opinion, people respect you as an industry leader, and so forth. My group predominantly is paid and owned, and then my group, along with Joe's group, is going to be shared. So we're going to be paying, we own some of our own content, we need a lot more, and then we're going to share it. But more importantly, we're hoping, and our strategy is that our customers will be sharing it, because we can tell the press all we want about how great we are. It is only when our customers start saying to the rest of the world, LADWP is great, that we'll actually have some momentum and make Joe's life a lot easier. So why marketing? Well, especially in a monopoly situation, sort of, and I'll explain that. Regulation, relationships, and savings, of course. We are regulated, we are mandated to do things. You saw a bunch of great presentations today basically around mandates, things we have to do. In order to do those things and to get our customers to participate in those things, we have to talk to them, and it's more effective to do it through some of the mediums and outlets that you've seen already today, including in Joe's presentation. So relationships foster transparency and economic development. There's leverage, which we'll talk about. And then there's savings. I mean, assets perform. If we have a website that's robust and dynamic, the website can be performing in the middle of the night in terms of an economic development tool while we're all at home sleeping, hopefully. We're also a service provider, and overall we're the voice of an organization, and that is why marketing is important. Also, it's important for awareness, ownership, and the brand, the look and feel, templates. I'll talk about templates in a little bit too. Awareness is benefits. There's a real value of having a community-owned utility that I don't believe we have done a really super good job of telling people about. There's a value to owning us. I mean, the water, think about the water system alone. The water that we deliver to an apartment complex is the same quality and same consistency as the water that a millionaire in a 5,000 square foot home would have. That's really extraordinary, and I don't think we tell our customers enough about how we're doing that and how we're getting that to them, and more importantly, why they should be proud to own a community municipality or municipally owned utility. And I want to talk on brand consistency versus confusion, and now I'm going to talk about some of the confusion. But at first, if there was one book I'm going to recommend in terms of a marketing book, there is a gentleman named Ryan Holiday, and he's fantastic. This book is either funny or scary, depending on what point of view you're reading the book from. If you're reading from the point of view of an organization, it could be terrifying. If you're reading the book from the point of view of the author, it's kind of funny. He intentionally lied and planted stories in the New York Times, Washington Post, CBS News, et cetera, mainstream stalwarts of media and communications, to prove that one person with a computer can destroy your whole day, especially your reputation. And it is important for us to be aware of this out there. And some of what Joe's group does responds and reacts, but some of what we're going to do is to place a forward, advanced marketing and reputation out there, because we don't want just one person to unravel everything we've done. So I hear a lot that we're a monopoly. What's the competition? Well, here's the competition. Our customers are getting a lot of messages from a lot of different people. Some of them are even utilities, and some of them are even what you've heard in the past, I'm sure, called market disruptors. If you look at the solar companies, if you look even at Tesla, it is a market disruptor, and we have to pay attention to that. We have to be in front of our customers before someone else gets in front of our customers. Here's some more competition, and these are real professionals. They get paid millions of dollars to get your attention and to make you interact with them. So it's important, even though I would like to print less things, I would like it to be of a higher quality so that when we're competing against Crate and Barrel, for example, we have some fighting chance of them picking up our piece and reading it instead of just maybe throwing it away or discarding it. I want to also point out Time Magazine in particular, the red border, the font, very distinctive red border. You don't even have to see that Oprah is on the cover of this magazine to know that that was Time Magazine, and that's a great example of look and feel and consistent branding, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. We are also competing against ourselves, and I could have actually done a few more of these slides, but one of these is actually my own division, so I'm a little embarrassed to show you. Economic development is up there. But it's just, and all of them are beautiful. When I first saw all these alternative logos, there's not really a bad one. They're all really good. But the problem is they're not the department logo of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. So we need to speak with one voice and kind of help our customers find us, because you'll see why that's so important. So let's talk about the logo. One of the things I did when I got here is I did a lot of research. I went into, there's an attic room up here with every intake magazine I think we've ever produced, and I spent a couple afternoons in there. Found out a little bit about the logo. If you've been in the cafeteria, you've seen this down there, 1920, Municipal Light, Water, and Power. In 1959, this logo that was kind of the familiar and the beginning of the past logo or current logo was developed for Intake magazine to distinguish it from any other magazine. So we went into the 60s now, your Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Then in the 80s, we changed the font on both the logo shield and the words itself. And then in the 90s, with deregulation, we clamped on LA onto the top of DWP to distinguish us from Burbank or Pasadena or anywhere else. Now, the most current iteration is and was this, the Department of Water and Power. This is using something called, of all things, Monopoly font. I thought that was funny. So what we wanted to do was modernize, and by doing a couple focus groups and talking not only to customers first, but also employees, we wanted to do something, even though we had some other options, we wanted to do something that was evolutionary and not revolutionary. So what we've developed was something that's more modern, the color's more modern, you'll see it in your branding guide, the font is more modern, and what's more important about this is this scale, this logo is more scalable. It can be made bigger and it can be made smaller, and that's even more important in terms of social and electronic media. It can be made smaller without losing its integrity or people not being able to see that it is the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. A couple of other logos I'll just point out that we are not going to touch or get rid of. There is an appropriate place for the City of Los Angeles seal, and there is an appropriate place for what we call the D ring, which is behind you on the wall, the department's seal. So we'll still use those, and the branding guide will show everybody the appropriate place and time for all of the different logos. If you are familiar, if you are nostalgic for the old logo, and if you've been here for a long time, we will offer you some great nostalgia wear. We're going to talk to the shop downstairs, and you can buy things from the past, just like Pepsi does or Coke does. So we're not getting rid of anything, and if the old logo is on a building somewhere, it's going to be there. It'll be legacy. It'll be great to see. So you have just an abbreviated version of a brand guide in front of you. And again, talking about staff, if we had gone out to do this, what you have in front of you today would already have been many thousands of dollars in terms of research and design. This staff you have is very talented, the staff I have. So you'll see the different logos, the different correct uses and the incorrect uses. At the bottom, you'll see the blue and green. That's called a casual logo. We'll also call out a place where you can use that. That would be on the side of a vehicle, on some attire, etc. So you also have business cards in front of you we provided. And if you worked here, I've told some people that have worked here many years, this is the first business card you've ever had with the department logo on your actual card. So it's important for us to represent who we are. I just wanted to quickly show you some other companies. We almost forget other people have modernized until you see the old logo. Here's Pepsi, of course. Nike, if you look at the last two, 1985 and now, that actually cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for you and I. Just looks like, oh, they just got rid of the box. What's the big deal? But there's a value to a brand, and that's why they're so strict about it. And then, of course, the more famous one, which was somewhat controversial for a while, but I think everyone kind of recognizes Starbucks now. So there it is, the evolution. But I just want to also point out that a logo is not your brand. Your brand is an experience people have when they come in contact with your business. So when they walk into our building, when they see a vehicle, when they talk to a board member or an employee, that's our brand. A logo is just a graphic element of the brand. But the brand is the communication strategy that helps you communicate your passion and your expertise, which in our case is customers first. We have a customer bill of rights. We have talked about the customer now for several years, and you all have done a fantastic job in reaching out to the customer and kind of changing the relationship we have. But in terms of marketing, this customer is much different from this customer, way different from an apartment complex and small to large businesses, and of course, our commercial industrial are a completely different class of their own. So every time we communicate a broadly general message, we're kind of wasting our message on 3/4 of the potential people who could be reading or are experiencing what we have to offer. So we want to do something called a funnel efficiency. And funnel efficiency, I won't read it to you at all, but it's basically getting your customers very quickly into your organization via website, social media, etc., and finding out what they're doing there. You want to attract them first. Then you want to nurture them second, which is, what are you doing here? Are you a commercial customer? Are you low income? Are you interested in solar? Getting them down to the next area, which is convert. So if you want a solar message, we can then convert and talk to you. And then finally, engage is where we're having an ongoing dialogue. So we're not just asking you to apply for a rebate once. We're asking for an ongoing dialogue. So you may get a rebate, and then you may get a follow-up from us saying, how did it go? Perhaps you'd also be interested in the following rebates. Our utility strategic goals should be what all of our messages are focused around. So you can see them on the left, and I won't read them to you. But how we're going to do some of that is we're going to dive down to the division goals and tasks. We're going to talk to the divisions now after today, find out what their goals are. We must have simplified messaging. I can't stress that enough. Short, powerful copy. I'm going to show you some examples. Videos, we need way more videos. We need an app, obviously. And we need LADWP 101. We need videos and app tutorials that show, hey, you're going to turn on electric service. Here's a 2-minute video that would say, here's what you're going to need to bring with you when you come to the John Ferrara building today. So we don't waste our customers' time. We make their life as easy as possible. We are going to talk to millennials, but I'm going to show you who they are first. And then we're going to do looking at billboards, which is still a good opportunity. And we want to talk to people in the neighborhoods they live in, at neighborhood engagement, because there's a powerful way to get out to different neighborhoods and engage them at ground level. Because we want to get the right message to the right customer, so we're not just wasting most of our message every time we communicate. So not just us, I need to preface that by saying, but many large organizations, many utilities, or many technical heavy organizations do something what I call butterflies, and this slide's called Butterflies versus Homing Pigeons. I'll kind of explain what that is. Butterflies is a picture in my head I have of all the stuff that we print and print and print. And we just print and mail stuff, and maybe sometimes we hand it out. And to me, it's as good as going to the top of the building and just throwing it off the top of the building. We never know if anybody's reading it. We never know if anybody reacted to it. We just don't know what happened to it. Our marketing messages need to be like homing pigeons, and you could probably finish this story before I tell you. I want to send a message out. I want the bird to return, and I want to know if it had some sort of impact. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Should we stop it? Should we do more? Also, marketing departments in general are generally considered a copy center, and that is a really missed opportunity for a strategic asset, especially in an organization that spends thousands and sometimes millions to design and build and implement something, to not focus a little bit in advance on the potential for strategic communications and how important that could be. We're so often rushed to produce something that's not of as good a quality as it could be, or God forbid, it's even boring. There, I said it, some of our stuff is boring. So marketing justification, this is kind of a turn in our operations. We are going to turn everyone in this organization into a little bit of a brand ambassador. So instead of filling out a graphics request form, we are going to ask for a marketing justification. And that is going to ask our employees, how does this tie to utility or division goals. And then who's the target audience? Because sometimes that helps us design what would be most effective to see neighborhood versus a council meeting versus wherever you're going, maybe Washington, D.C. to speak. Is it one-off or ongoing? That's fine either way, but we can change the design based on is this something that lasts a long time or it's just a one-time thing. What result would you like to see? In other words, what is the expected measurement of what you're asking the graphics team to design? And then again, what's the rush? Sometimes we don't think about marketing till the end. We have to rush around and do something that's not as good as we could. So what you expect from the marketing department is we're going to there's going to be a strong emphasis on a singular LADWP brand. We need customer-friendly messaging, literally, and I'll explain that. Branded templates. This is a great thing we can do. We can brand PowerPoints, brand brochures, brand stuff, give employees a template so they don't need to rely on the graphics team or the marketing team for everything they want to do. There are some divisions, Joe's group is one of them that we trust. If we just give them the look and feel, go for it. We don't want to hold you up. We are going to say no, but. So in some cases, we are going to say no. And the famous example I use is, and I hope I'm not offending anyone, but there was a leaky toilet brochure that someone's asked us to reproduce as how to troubleshoot your toilet for leaks. And I kind of said no, but why? We went on Google, and you can immediately find 25 way smarter people at fixing leaky toilets than LADWP. And furthermore, do we have any data that that's why they're coming to us anyway, is to troubleshoot a toilet? So we want to put our employee focus or our employee effort on where it's going to reach the customer, what's most effective. So we want to also measure that. Channels, brochures, advertisement, everything has a job, and it's up to us to determine what that job is in advance. We want to measure, tweak, repeat, or even stop if something's not working. General observations, a lot of this you intuitively know by being in the industry for a while. Changing customer perceptions and the relationship with our customer has changed. In many cases, our customers know more about this industry than many of our own employees. Unclear communications are not transparent. And one of the things we always say we want to do is be transparent. But if we're unclear, it's as good as not communicating anything at all, because so many people are just tuning out to what we're saying. Broadly cast messages, and you've already seen the example, it's not really reaching who it needs to. Different customer types have different needs. Too many messages with no strategic focus. There's no consistent look and feel. And then again, the big one for me is too literal equals too confusing. Another example of another company, another industry that used to be too literal. This was Apple Computer in the 80s. I don't know if anyone even remembers the Apple Lisa computer. I didn't remember this, and I'm of the 80s. So this was when Steve Jobs worked for Apple's the first time, Apple, not Apple's. And after this ad appeared in the New York Times, that's when he was fired the first time from Apple. I don't think it had anything to do with this ad, but that's coincidental timing. When he came back to Apple, their marketing and strategy was a little different, and now I'm sure, even this being 22 years old, I'm sure a lot of people in the room still remember Think Different and the campaign. The other reason it's a challenge for us to communicate is we're in the #2 media market in the United States, which means if we don't plan in advance, it's very expensive for us to buy radio or TV. So it's more effective for us to do sponsorships, as Joe talked about, and get to our customers and talk to them specifically and individually, and that's what this slide has to do with. Participation in our programs gets harder every year as more people become more energy efficient, as more new housing stock is introduced. So our customers are looking to us as being advocates when they come to us for advice. Should I use solar? Should I get a new air conditioner? We want them to come to us. There's a bullet point in there that says 100 customers versus 100 visits. This is really kind of the heart of Joe's part of his presentation with sponsorship. It is infinitely more affordable for us to go to an event that we've sponsored and speak in front of 100 people than it is for us to go do 100 customer visitations. It's just too costly. We would have to staff up. This is way better. And of course, Evergreen saves money. Evergreen is a brochure. You have one in front of you, I'll kind of point out in a little bit, that doesn't have a time date on it. So instead of having to do a new brochure every year or every 6 months, if it's evergreen, maybe it has a shelf life of 2, 3, 4 years. It will actually save money and time in the long run. Here's what else is going on. Noise, people are doing what's called double screening and triple screening. You're watching TV, you're on your phone. Hopefully no one behind me right now is double screening, but it's a possibility at this late hour too. Also, there's something called zero interface, and you already know what this is too. It's Alexa, it's Cortana, it's Siri. Siri, what is my LADWP bill? Alexa, is there a rebate on this refrigerator I just bought? This is upon us. This isn't the future anymore, it's here. I understand we will have a prototype of this by the end of the year, so I'm excited about that, because once upon a time in marketing presentations, we would talk about someday young people won't have email. They'll just relate through social media. So here I am, old enough to remember that, and now saying someday young people won't have email or social media. Everything will be zero interface where they're talking to devices and getting results. We also have market disruptors. We talked about it before. Tesla's involved in solar and battery storage as well as transportation. And this is maybe the saddest slide of all. Customers spend only 8 minutes a year interacting with their utility. And with us, it might even be less because we only send them a bill every other month. The other thing that's important about this slide, let's assume that this is correct and they do spend that little time with us. All the more reason to lock down our look and feel and to make sure when something comes to them, they know it's from us so they can interact with us and ultimately have a good relationship with us. So we showed you all this competition or all these competing voices before. Some of those competing voices have changed the marketplace. And here's just 3 of them that have changed our customer expectations, and this is what our customers expect from us. Predictive analytics, personalized recommendations, and more importantly, customer relationships. I picked these 3 particular companies because I actually do business with all 3 of these, so it's just my personal preference. But I now feel like I have a customer relationship because they're so good and so intuitive. And when I'm on a news site and Amazon is showing me a toothbrush that I was looking for 3 weeks ago, that's predictive marketing, that's remarketing, that's really important. And now I have a relationship with them. It would be hard for me to imagine going somewhere else. This is from Utility Dive, the top 10 trends transforming the electric power sector. I'm sure you know this because you've been presented on this multiple times. The ones I've highlighted are kind of ones that more directly touch marketing. Load defection, solar, buying into storage. Number 2 is utilities becoming more customer-centric. Well, our customers are our owners. I hope that we have been customer-centric all along, but we need to enforce that relationship and let them know about that. Utility business models are changing, and we know that, and so do our customers. In essence, in addition to being a water and power company, we're also becoming 4 other kind of different agencies. We're becoming an energy efficiency company. They're coming to us for our help. We're becoming a demand response company. We're becoming a digital engagement company, and we're becoming a customer care company. But what all of those have in common is that they're expecting us to be a source of information, and we do not want to abdicate that responsibility to an outside agency. So customers first. First impressions matter, touch points matter. Every division or employee that touches a customer is a brand ambassador. So the question I ask is, are we living up to the tagline, putting customers first? So I want to show you a few assets, some that are here and some that will be coming. But questions about assets is, do they reflect our brand? So if we make a poster or a social media post, anything, is it reflecting LADWP? Is it consistent? And again, think of Time Magazine, that you knew at a glance was Time Magazine. Is it customer friendly? Is it mobile friendly? Is it measurable? Do we have any Google Analytics on what our customers are seeing? And is remarketing occurring, which is the example I used earlier of the toothbrush? That's remarketing. I want to show you before and after. This is current. The ad on the right is current. It's a back of the bill, or what we call an onsert. It's a social media post. It's an advertisement. It's a sponsorship advertisement that's going to go in a program. And at the left, you have 7 other brochures that are essentially saying the same thing. And what they all failed to do was kind of get to the point, which was, you can save up to $60 on your energy bill by doing this. So this is an example of simplified, short, powerful copy. Make it easy on our customer to find out what we're trying to tell them, which is, hey, if you're buying a refrigerator, we've got some money for you. And in addition to the money, you can also save an additional amount of money on your energy bill during the year. So this one ad Instead of doing 7 different ads, we have one ad now that can go 7 different places. And the brand, the look and feel are consistent. We have something in front of you called a leave behind, or what we're calling a share behind. We see this as evergreen. Again, it carries the look and feel. There's another Bill Onsert. The particular share behind that you have is a low-income brochure that kind of shows our low-income assistance programs and other helpful programs. Typically, for a program that people we're marketing to are also in demographic areas where they might know other people. So the intent of a brochure that's not just a one-off is that they'll share it with their neighbors, their families, etc. This way we have some relationship with the customer. In the past, with some of our low-income materials, we're simply asking them to fill out a form. They fill it out, they send it in, and then there's no footprint of LADWP having been there. At least now what we'll do is they'll fill the form in and turn it back into us, but they'll still have this that they can interact with or hopefully share it. Again, there's the Bill Onsert. We absolutely need to be advertising in Spanish. I don't mean to laugh, but it should just be a foregone conclusion. We also need to look at Chinese and Korean in terms of, depending on what the marketing pieces that we're putting out, but we need, and they're always available, but some of our marketing pieces just automatically need to be proactive. When we have an event, we've seen this picture, actually, this is the 3rd time today, we want to make signs for the event, not just to provide decoration for the event, although that was kind of cool, instead of just looking at dirt. We want to then leave these signs in the neighborhood, and the signs need to change from, we're going to be digging up your street and inconveniencing your life for the next 2 years, to LADWP's got another great project coming here that's going to increase reliability, resiliency, and here's why it's going to improve your life. And this is why the rate increase was impactful and effective. And just remind customers, hey, we asked you to trust us, and look, we're building something that's going to impact and improve your service. We want to get our name and brand and into the hands of our customers, and overall, we want to thank our customers for participating or doing what we have asked them to do, because we cannot achieve any of these goals you've heard about without our customers. So when they do participate in programs, it's time to say, thank you, customer, and I'll show you a few more of those too. Coming assets, these are things we've already designed, but they're not here yet. The web and apps are going to be absolutely key, and you'll see that in just a couple slides why that's so important. Electrification of the transportation sector is one of our top priorities, as well as yours. So what you're going to do is you're going to see us branding all the chargers for DWP. We really want people to know that they're there. In many cases, if you have an electric vehicle, you probably already know where all the chargers are. So what our charging stations essentially turn into is advertisement for people that don't yet have made the conversion, haven't yet made the conversion to electric vehicles. It's our way of saying, please, look, they're all over the place, they're ubiquitous, the time is now, get a used electric vehicle rebate from LADWP. We want to, again, thank our customers in terms of print ads, social media ads, and sponsorships. Thank you. You've saved this much electricity, which equates to this much carbon. We're also including them in our process by doing that and kind of throwing our arms around our customer. We're essentially making our customer the hero of the LADWP story instead of our equipment or our personnel. It's just more important to involve the customer and make them feel significant. We are going to be involved in recruitment. We are going to go out to neighborhoods to do recruitment. We want to feature our customer heroes in some of our recruitment. This is just mock-ups of what could be getting out to the neighborhoods to talk about recruitment. Getting out to specific neighborhoods, targeting the demographics we want, and also making it an education and a conversation with some of the people we'd like to come to LADWP. And speaking of billboards, we are sitting above about 200 of them right now. Not one of them, except for 3 actually, say LADWP on them. And in the city of Los Angeles, I can promise you right now, somebody is stuck behind one of our vehicles, and we do not have a logo or a website or a work here or a come find out about your water and what we're doing in your neighborhood. We have a lot of opportunity. This is a free opportunity to us since we already own the asset. We need to be involved. And now going back to that magazine page and all those beautiful things that come in the mail, there is a place for a picture of a pipe going into the ground. And I'm a big fan, but it doesn't have to be everywhere. And it doesn't have to be on the cover of some stuff that we're going necessarily. I'm not picking on water. This is just an example of a possible water quality report cover to kind of just pique interest and get someone to pick that up and open it up. Hopefully you'll see that soon. Postcard, Joe talked about construction notification, which we want to do, but then also a more on-time postcard reminder to say, hey, remember the construction project we told you about, it's imminent, and thank you for letting us work in your neighborhood to improve your system. Swag, we don't talk about it a lot. It is a great way to leverage other people's events, other people's sponsorships. In some cases, we would sponsor an event that we can't physically be at, but we can send our shopping bags for their goodies for the evening, and then someone else's event essentially almost becomes a co-branded DWP event. So digital in the future, and I'll kind of finish off here with some final points. I know it's a lot, and thank you for your patience here. I want to kind of remind you about the funnel, getting them in, getting them down, and finding out who they are so we could talk to them. This is, I apologize in advance, this is the most horrible slide I'll ever present to the board. But I'm going to kind of walk you through it from the left column to the right, and we're not even going to go all the way to the right, but I just want to show you a couple of essential points. On the left column is the population of LA, which is about 3.9, projected to be 4 million very soon. The next column over is Facebook, and as you can see, there's over 5 million people on Facebook identifying with the city of Los Angeles. We don't know the reason for this entirely. Some people have 2 accounts. I'm associated with DWP and my own. Some people live in Riverside, but it's easier for your relatives in Milwaukee to tell them Los Angeles because they don't know where Riverside is. So we don't know exactly, but we do know there's a significant amount of people associating with LA on Facebook. Now the green column, if you can see at the bottom, we have it listed by boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, which is green, those are millennials, Generation Z, which are young right now. So we're going to look at millennials. You'll see in Los Angeles, the green bar, there's 1 million millennials, but on Facebook, there's almost 3 million. That's important as a marketing organization for us to understand that, because if you go to the next column, you'll see the circulation of the daily Los Angeles Times is under 500,000. And there's assumptions we can make, and we get demographics about who reads the paper versus who's online. But it helps us to determine if we want to advertise a turf removal program might work better in the LA Times, but a recruitment campaign might actually work better on social media targeting millennials if that's who we want to pick. So it's important for us to be aware of this. It's also important for us to be aware of what's on our website. So here's our current website, which needs to be changed quickly to reduce our customer effort and make it easy for them to find a bill, pay, or get a rebate, and let me show you why. Here are the top 8 reasons why people are coming to our website right now. Basically, pay my bill, pay my bill, pay my bill, get a rebate, and tell me about an outage, which we're not doing that well. I think rebates eventually can be completely automated. I mean, you can deposit a check from your kitchen with your phone. I think customers are very quickly going to have an expectation that we should be able to help them with rebates that quickly. And then, so these are the top reasons they're coming. But also, the next slide's fascinating. It shows that over 95% of customers, U.S. customers through the nation, have a mobile phone, and over 76% now have a smartphone. So, going back to zero interface and the mobile and the trends and who's on Facebook, it's really important, and it would be really foolish of us to not consider what our customers are using, how they're interacting with other companies, and why that's important for us to be in that space. So the next steps are going to be, we're going to be completing the rebrand, and we're going to be explaining it to the department. We're going to go division by division, showing them what we've done. We want to start engaging some of our divisions to participate in what's called upstream marketing. A quick example of that is the difference between this last year we did a social media ad for the Super Bowl, the week of the Super Bowl. Upstream marketing would involve talking to retailers 6 months before the Super Bowl to get them excited about our Energy Star rebate program, and then they can sell the program for us because nobody is really responding to the social media ads. We are working with the City of Los Angeles on conservation, including the Save the Drop, but also our rebrand is going to tie in with some of their branding efforts. We're working on an economic development book, essentially, that will be all-encompassing about our programs. We want to have information about the city in there. We want to have the neighborhood presence, as I mentioned. And then we're going to be doing a lot of templates, which includes PowerPoints, with the first few slides being an intro to LA DWP. So no matter who's going and presenting, They'll have a little history of the department. But overall, we want to tell our story. It's a great one. It's great to be here. It's a really fantastic department, and I think we really need to get out there and let the community know how proud they should be of this department and why they should never let us go, and why it's a really good value. So with that, I guess Joe and I will go back up here and answer any of your questions, but thank you for sitting through a long presentation before you've eaten lunch, so thanks very much.
So I just want to close a little bit and not make this too much longer, but I did ask Mike and Joe to please be comprehensive because this is so important to what we do. Not too much over 15 years ago, I was up here as a visitor and the general manager at that point in time, and some things are seared into your memory. This is a work-related item seared into my memory. And the general manager opened the door just across the hallway from here because he didn't believe too much in customer relations and said, you know what I think about marketing and communications, customer relations, here's what I think about it. And the door opened and it was empty space. And even then I thought that I just can't imagine the largest utility in the US not having an intense marketing, community relations, sponsorship, branding effort, but they didn't. Joe came in a decade ago and literally built almost this entire effort from scratch and has done a fantastic job. You know, I've talked for some time about how important customer relations is, community affairs, sponsorships, marketing, branding. I absolutely want this to be kind of an infusion on very, very quickly going to several levels above where we're at now because we should be there. And thus I split kind of the responsibility. Joe can now really focus on community affairs and sponsorships. He showed how much additional effort has been put in that, and we need to increase it, target it, make it even more effective. He and his staff have done a great job. Mike, to add to that, marketing, branding, starting to get customers to have an absolute awareness. That's from LEDWP, and they're here to help me. And like I said, I could talk a lot longer, but truly, staff has done a phenomenal job. And I want to close with one thing. If you look at this, you look at the front, you could kind of look at some of these and saying, hey, we're reaching new peaks, or you could interpret it as any project that we do has a number of different layers. We work on the backs of previous generations, but when Mike talked about the creativity, this is a staff member going to the corner of Moat and looking up to the building, and this is a view from the base up to what we look like. Can represent so many different things, but we have the talent and can do any of this in-house. Obviously, sometimes we will utilize someone to help us with the message, help us with the delivery, but we have a great team, and I truly want them just unleashed to significantly improve our image, our customer relations, and do that as fast as possible because we're a great organization. With that, I'll open it to any questions that you might have for Joe or Mike.
Questions, comments?
I know, I just want to say thank you. I thought both presentations were outstanding. And
we delayed as long as
I thought it was very comprehensive, very helpful, and again, I'm just very impressed with the momentum of improving customer relations and the events that you're hosting, just with an addition of 4 staff members. So without a doubt, all of you are very talented and dedicated, so I thank you. I had one quick question, and it's just a minor one. For the printing of the billboards and the pamphlets, is that all done in-house, or do we outsource that?
Most of it's done in-house. And in fact, interestingly enough, these business cards are actually, when they go into production, there's a setup fee and so forth, and the correct paper. They're actually going to cost less than the old business cards because those are printed essentially on a giant photocopier, and these actually go through a proper print process.
Yeah.
So even looking better, some of our stuff can be cheaper, and yes, it's all done in-house, so we're also proud of that.
Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze, but I love the new business cards, and I think you're doing a great job, so thank you.
God bless you in advance.
It just went away. I got shy.
I want to ask your teams to stand up. I want to see them, the people that work on this.
Some of them have never been to a board meeting before. They're very shy, and they sat as far back as possible.
Wow.
Very talented team.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much because, you know, LADWP as an organization, as a company that is an institution in Los Angeles is, as you shared in your presentation, is not easy to enact change sometimes, and especially on the way that we look and how we interact with others outside of the department. So it's very exciting. I was beyond excited to see all of this branding, that it really looks like a 2018 Department of Water and Power. I am a little biased because, you know, I deal with a lot of younger people, and they're constantly asking me, like, what is it that you do? Like, we don't get what, and I think that with this presentation now, maybe I'm gonna get to breach a lot more of that. I mean, you know, a lot of our new customers are gonna be people like myself, and you know, represented in so many other areas. So I really commend you, David, for really leading this chart and allowing us to also see DWP a little bit different and dream. You know, I feel like this is like for me at least, it's a dream come true as the, you know, newest addition to the board, because I've been hearing so much in the community about how can we relate to DWP, and I think this is a really exciting first step to get the community and businesses and people that we have relationships with to relate to us. So thank you, all of you, for really coming up with, I mean, this is incredibly innovative.
A point I missed earlier on the business card, if you look at the front or the back, there's a space in the middle. It'll be for Braille for some of our employees that are out there in the community quite a bit. We purposely left it blank so we can do a Braille imprint without affecting the print. I also noticed I don't know if I recognized him earlier, so my apologies. The web team is going to be essential and critical. Hildreth Anderson, Stephen Kim, and Tom Guidino. They're going to be doing the heavy lifting as we move forward, so I noticed they were there.
And I have expressed this before. I am a big believer on storytelling, and I think both of you have had extensive conversations around how do we tell the story of DWP, and how do we get customers to also tell the story for us, and a story that is hopeful, that is exciting, that tells the beauty that happens here, and not just all the negatives that sometimes you hear. And I encourage you, and I think that is translated and integrated to your plan on how do we utilize more storytelling. I want to see also more of our partners that are already engaged with us talking about the benefits that they get from partnerships with DWP, and you know, customers that have success stories that we are indeed changing people's lives out there with the programs and the incentives and the things that we do here.
I want to join in the compliments. These were both extremely impressive presentations, and I'm confident will move us in important new directions. And I think it's great that we're doing this. I salute you, Dave, for your leadership in this, and both of you and your teams deserve an enormous amount of both retrospective and prospective praise. Having said that, I have sort of one question and one comment that will be sort of a comment question. My question is, I mean, I think all of this is great. For those of us who lived through the billing crisis, I'm wondering, and the class actions, which were derivative of all of that, all of this is reaching out, and I think it's fantastic. But do we have also some sort of crisis response? I mean, I don't know how you guys are going to do this in the 24 hours in a day, so I don't want to add more burdens. But in the event that there is some future crisis about something, and hopefully there won't be, but inevitably there probably will be, do we have a crisis response capability?
Yes, and we actually have a crisis communications plan that I'd be happy to share with you. In addition to the plan, we have actually message maps that have been worked on extensively over the years. We went through a process with both power and water system that have over 40 maps just on the power side alone, for example, where these are pre-staged messages that we can work off of. You never get it just right, but you have the basics and work through the operational issues related to, for example, if we have a fire threatening transmission lines coming over into our system, that could lead to outages where we need to call for urgent conservation. So I'd be happy to share those with you. There are different scenarios that continue to emerge. We had the assistance of a fantastic consultant who remains valuable to us. We're in the process of renewing his contract. The firm is named Agincourt Strategies, Gerald Barron. He helped with the systems and my team we're going back now to 2013 and earlier, up until more recently with Aliso Canyon, to come up with these message maps. They're actually pre-staged on our communications website on the ladwpnews.com site. There's always room for improvement. We did 3 different scenarios for Aliso where we had it ready and canned, and in fact were able to use when we needed to last summer.
I would like to go over that with you.
Okay, happy to.
The other issue, in a way, is more fundamental. Marty and I have discussed this on various occasions. Look, obviously the principal impact of DWP on our customers is going to be how we perform. All the PR in the world, if we don't perform at a high level, won't do any good. Ultimately, the intersection of the customer with the department is what will drive how we're perceived. The billing fiasco was calamitous for for how we were perceived, and I think that the staff has made extraordinary strides in overcoming a large part of that, although there's still a residue out there. I mean, the first 2 years I was on this board, I think more than every other person that I spoke with was angry and confused. That ratio has diminished dramatically, but still too large of a percentage of the people that I deal with have had bad day-to-day experiences with things like poor communication, like things being handed off to people and the customer doesn't know about it, delays that are not readily explainable, no predictability, and the like. So I assume that all of this is linked somehow to the work that Marty is doing with his committee to try to improve the customer experience. But to me, that is the most important thing we can possibly work on. More important than all the rest of this. I think all the rest of this is critical. But it's dependent on a foundation of customers having a positive experience with us, and much too often they don't. So I just put that out there because I think it's the elephant in the room, and I'm not sure how you deal with it.
I did want to say, if you remember about 2 months ago, Assistant General Manager of Customer Service Sharon Grove came forward with essentially a process map that she was working with everybody to create, and it's that mapping of our process that we've got to figure out so that we can take some of those areas where somebody misses moving it forward, or we don't communicate, or we don't follow up. You are absolutely right. We've got to improve our service. We've got to look at the areas that are non-primary, primary being billing. You know, that process we know pretty well, but the processes out there that are secondary perhaps to a billing, which might be getting a new service or waiting, we've got to figure out if we're still doing things the way we did 50 years ago, and what we can edit out and make easier, simplify, automate. And she's been doing that on a number of different occasions. I know Marty's been working directly.
Marty's heard from me about this a few times. So.
Yes, sir. and I think in late March, we'll be back to the board to show you the latest rendition of where we are. We've tackled another process. We are continuing to engage customers, including the ones that you've steered our direction. And then we have fixes to the website, and of course, as the website changes, the face of the branding will be will be fixed. But we're trying to simplify our language to the customers. really make it, plain and simple to follow what to do and what we need from them and where they are in the process. So there's been a lot of real significant progress made since the last time we briefed the board on where we're going. And so I think it's, I believe, late March, and we're planning to bring that update to the board. I think you'll be happy with what you see.
Okay, I hope so. Well, you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. I have the I have the best job in the world. I get to tell everybody what a great company this is, and Joe has to explain everything to everybody.
I don't understand your question.
Can we go ahead and now that we have Commissioner Funderburk here, approve the minutes from 2/27?
Well, we're going to, now that we have Commissioner Funderburk here, it's 30 and 31, isn't it? What do you?
No, I just want to make sure that now that he's here, remember we deferred the 2/27
Oh,
minutes.
you're right. We never were able to approve a set of minutes because we didn't have 3 people here who were present at the meeting of February 27th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 27th?
I'll make a motion since I haven't said anything.
It's about time that you said something. Is there a second?
Most people don't say that to me.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for the reminder, it's approved. Now we have 2 items where on one item Commissioner Noonan needs to be recused and on one item Commissioner Vasquez needs to be recused. So the first is Commissioner Noonan's. Would you please recuse yourself? But not for a long time.
Thank
you. Is there a motion authorizing the travel of DWP Board Commissioner Noonan to Frankfurt, Germany from March 20th to 23rd, representing the department at the World Class Digital Transformation and Innovation Conference?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. You may come back. Goodbye, Commissioner Vasquez. Is there a motion supporting the resolution authorizing travel of Commissioner Vasquez to Washington, D.C. from March 13th to 14th, representing the department and board at the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute Energy Summit?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. You may come back, Commissioner Vasquez, but I think we're now going to go into
At
closed
this
session.
time, we will recess in a closed session, and in accordance with California Government Code Section 54957.1, we will report any final actions taken there.
Thank you.
So you're flying out today?